Let's be honest, ever since Christopher Nolan released The Dark Knight, the way we tell superhero stories changed forever. That darker, more grounded approach, with a deeply traumatized hero living in a cynical world, pretty much became the new standard. And while that formula worked incredibly well on the big screen, it hadn't really taken off on TV just yet. Back then, we were still stuck in lighter formats, like Smallville. Then, in 2012, a show came in and literally kicked the door down. It took a hero that not everyone knew all that well at the time, Green Arrow, and applied that exact same formula to him. Suddenly, we had a vigilante on our screens who didn't have any superpowers, but returned from a deserted island as a full-on combat machine. A hero who broke bones, wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, and followed a list of targets to clean up the city. And it was that darker, gritty tone that set the stage for an entire shared superhero universe on TV, the now iconic Arrowverse, which, to the delight of my awesome subscribers, will be getting its own full breakdown on this channel very soon. But today, to kick things off in style, let's revisit the full story of Arrow, one of my all-time favorite shows, and the one that started it all. After spending 5 years shipwrecked on a deserted island that looks a lot like the set of Lost, billionaire Oliver Queen is finally rescued. He returns to Starling City, but he's no longer the same playboy who used to get arrested for brawling with paparazzi. Now his body is a roadmap of scars and burns, and the doctor warns his family he might not be the same person, and he isn't. The family reunion is incredibly awkward. His mother, Moira, has married his father's business partner, Walter, and his younger sister, Thea, is turning into a rebel. In a flashback, we see the family yacht sinking in a storm. Oliver was on board with his father and his girlfriend's sister, Sarah. Yes, he was cheating on his girlfriend, Laurel, with her own sister. Back in the present, his reunion with Laurel is a disaster. She basically tells him it would have been better if he had died instead of Sarah. To make matters worse, Oliver and his best friend, Tommy, are kidnapped, but the thugs had no idea who they were messing with. With unbelievable agility, Oliver snaps 2 of their necks and chases down the third. He lies to the police, claiming a vigilante in a green hood saved them. This is the new Oliver. At night, he sets up a secret base in an abandoned factory and becomes the Hood. His first target is Adam Hunt, a corrupt businessman whose name is in a little book his father left him. The Hood breaks into Hunt's office and gives him an ultimatum: transfer $40 million or it's over. To keep up appearances, Oliver throws a massive party. In the middle of it, he slips away, suits up, breaks into Hunt's conveniently located building, and steals the money. In another flashback, we see Oliver's father kill a crewman and then himself, begging his son to survive and right his wrongs. And the cherry on top, Moira is conspiring with someone, revealing that the yacht's shipwreck was no accident. Oliver Queen's double life is in full swing. By day, he's in court to be legally declared alive again. By night, he's the Arrow, hunting down the corrupt names on his father's list. Next up is Martin Summers, a businessman Laurel is prosecuting for his ties to the Chinese triad. The Arrow hangs the guy upside down and demands a confession, which terrifies Summers. Meanwhile, Diggle, Oliver's bodyguard, is sick of being given the slip all the time. He knows something is off with this playboy. Things heat up when Summers, afraid of the Arrow, decides the best defense is a good offense and hires the triad to take out Laurel. Oliver discovers the plan and arrives just in time to save his ex. The fight is intense, and Diggle, who is also there, is stunned when he sees Oliver throw a kitchen knife with pinpoint accuracy. Oliver tries to play it off as luck, but Diggle isn't buying it. The brawl also introduces a new player to the board, China White, a formidable triad assassin. The Arrow hunts Summers down again and manages to get a recorded confession. On his way out, he runs into Detective Lance, Laurel's father, and instead of hurting him, he fires an arrow that pins the recording to the wall. To throw off any suspicion, Oliver attends a family company event and gives a drunken speech, reinforcing his image as an irresponsible idiot. In a flashback, we see Oliver on the island finding his father's journal, the one with the list. And to wrap things up, a final flashback shows Oliver, right after burying his father, being shot by an arrow fired by a mysterious hooded figure. It seems the island wasn't so deserted after all. The Arrow is after another name on the list, James Holder, but the night takes an unexpected turn. Before Oliver can deliver his signature "You have failed this city" speech, a sniper appears out of nowhere, kills the target, and grazes the Arrow with a poisoned bullet. This new assassin is Deadshot, a mercenary who kills for cash, and Oliver puts him at the top of his personal hit list. Wounded, he rushes to his base and uses some island herbs to heal himself, flashing back to how a mysterious man saved him on the island. To maintain his cover, Oliver decides to open a nightclub and goes out with Tommy to scope out the competition. The night turns into chaos. They run into Laurel and a completely drunk Thea, who blurts out to everyone that Tommy and Laurel are seeing each other. The club owner, a guy Oliver cuckolded, attacks him, and an all-out brawl ensues. To find Deadshot, Oliver uses his contacts with the Russian mob, flashing a Bratva tattoo. He gets an address, raids the place, and gets into a frantic fight with Deadshot, who manages to escape. To track him, Oliver takes the assassin's damaged laptop to an IT girl, Felicity, who manages to recover the plans for his next hit, an auction where Walter, Oliver's stepfather, is one of the targets. At the event, chaos erupts. Deadshot tries to shoot Walter, but Detective Lance saves him at the last second. Oliver heads to the roof, grabs his arrow gear, and goes after the villain. Diggle, his bodyguard, follows him and ends up getting hit by one of Deadshot's poisoned bullets. The arrow finally defeats the assassin with an arrow to the eye, but the real bombshell comes now. To save Diggle, Oliver has no choice but to use his antidote and take off his hood, revealing his secret identity to his shocked bodyguard.
Hey.
And how does Diggle show his gratitude? With a punch to the face, of course. Oliver wants him to join his crusade, like a Robin to his Batman, but Diggle isn't having it, calling Oliver a criminal and a murderer. Later, Laurel shows up to lecture Oliver for not telling his family he'd been shot. Then the episode shifts to the case of the week. A man named Declan is about to be executed for a crime he didn't commit. Oliver instantly knows the real culprit is a man named Brodeur, a name that, what a coincidence, is on his little list of targets. To save Declan, Oliver puts on the hood and asks Laurel for help, telling her that Declan's wife was about to expose Brodeur's company's dirty dealings. While Laurel races against the clock, Oliver tries to recruit Diggle again. This time, he plays the emotional card. He shows him his father's journal and promises that, together, they can bring justice and maybe even find the man who killed Diggle's brother-in-law, and it actually works. At the same time, Walter, who's no fool, asks Felicity, the IT genius, to investigate a $2.6 million discrepancy in the company's accounts. The arrow gets the proof he needs in a unique way, by tying a guy to the train tracks until he confesses. With the confession in hand, Laurel tries to stop the execution, but the judge won't cooperate. To make things worse, Brodeur's thugs start a prison riot to kill Laurel. Oliver, disguised as a guard, saves the day, but his brutality frightens Laurel. In the end, Brodeur confesses, but Laurel tells her father she now believes the arrow is a murderer. To top it all off, Walter finds the wreckage of the Queen's yacht. Detective Lance finds a video of Oliver changing, and just as Diggle agrees to the partnership, the police raid the mansion and arrest Oliver.
Oliver Queen. What is this?
Oliver faces the situation with the calm of someone who already has a plan B, C, and D. He demands that Laurel be his lawyer, and she gets him placed under house arrest. To maintain his irresponsible playboy persona, Oliver decides to throw a party at home while wearing an ankle monitor. Classy. But it's all just a big act. He confesses to Diggle that getting caught on camera was intentional. While the world thinks he's grounded, he sends Diggle, his new field partner, to investigate a German arms dealer. Diggle heads to the Arrow's lair and is like a kid in a candy store, picking out his new toys. To get the charges dropped, Oliver agrees to take a polygraph test in front of Detective Lance. During the test, he has flashbacks to the torture he endured on the island at the hands of Deathstroke. He channels that pain to beat the machine and passes with flying colors, leaving Lance even more frustrated. During the party, the plan goes into motion. While Oliver socializes, Diggle puts on the hood and goes to stop the arms deal. Things get complicated when an assassin disguised as a butler attacks Oliver. In the struggle, the ankle monitor breaks. Detective Lance arrives, shoots the attacker, and releases Oliver from house arrest, since the Arrow, Diggle in this case, was spotted across town. The plan was a success. In the midst of all this, we learn that Malcolm, Moira's shady business associate, was the one who ordered the hit on Walter's head of security and on Oliver. Moira threatens him, telling him to stay away from her family. Walter leaves, Laurel and Oliver grow distant, and the real Arrow returns to the streets to hunt down the arms dealer who got away. A bank robbery is in progress, but it all goes wrong, and a police officer ends up in a coma. Diggle thinks the Arrow should go after these guys, turning the revenge mission into a neighborhood watch, but Oliver is focused on his list, and the next target, a corrupt businessman. Diggle, ever persistent, finds a way to manipulate Oliver. He lies, saying the target attempted suicide, and leads Oliver to the hospital, where he comes face to face with the wounded officer's wife. The guilt hits him instantly. With Oliver finally on board, the duo starts investigating. They discover the robbers are a family. The Restons and the father, Derek, was fired from Oliver's father's company years ago without a cent. This makes it personal. Oliver, showing a more human side, decides to give the guy a chance. He goes to Derek's house, apologizes on his father's behalf, and offers him a job. But Derek, full of wounded pride, refuses. Oliver leaves a bug behind and learns they're planning one last heist. He has to bail on a charity event, making his mother Moira furious to stop the family. But his plan to play the hero backfires. During the confusion at the bank, a security guard wakes up and shoots Derek, who dies in the arrow's arms. The scene is tragic and shows that Oliver's actions have heavy, unexpected consequences. Meanwhile, Tommy tries to win over Laurel by sponsoring her event and even gets a kiss after taking care of a very drunk Thea. In the end, Diggle consoles a devastated Oliver, telling him the death wasn't his fault. To close, Oliver remembers finding his father's journal on the island and, in a rare moment, makes peace with his mother, taking her out for burgers and milkshakes, just like old times. After a random motorcycle ride, Oliver finds his mother, Moira, leaving Queen Consolidated. Suddenly, another bike appears out of nowhere, and a masked rider guns down the man she was with. Oliver, who is nobody's fool, sees that his mother is okay and takes off after the bike, and the madman almost catches it, proving those 5 years on the island were like CrossFit on steroids. But a truck gets in the way at the last second, and the assassin escapes. At the hospital, Moira is fine with just a concussion, but Thea, Oliver's sister, doesn't buy his story about chasing down the assassin's license plate. Detective Lance arrives with his own theory. The target was the man, Kopani, who had beef with the mob, and Moira was just unlucky enough to be nearby. Meanwhile, Oliver tells Diggle he's going to infiltrate the Bertinelli family, the local mob bosses, to find out who the killer is. We then find out who the mysterious biker is, a woman who crosses Kopani's picture off a wall full of targets. It's the Huntress. Oliver shows up at the Bertinelli mansion and comes face to face with the boss, Frank, and his daughter Helena, the biker assassin herself. Her father, oblivious, practically forces her to go to dinner with Oliver. At dinner, there's actually a spark, and the two connect over feeling trapped in their lives. But the night is interrupted when Nick, Frank's right-hand man, goes to collect a debt at a restaurant. What he wasn't counting on was the Arrow and the Huntress showing up to crash the party. The two vigilantes end up fighting, and in the middle of the brawl, Oliver rips off her helmet and discovers her identity. Later, Nick kidnaps Oliver and Helena. He reveals he knows Helena is the traitor and confesses to killing her fiancé Michael because he was an FBI informant. As Nick is about to kill Helena, Oliver breaks free and the fight begins. In the end, Helena, filled with rage, snaps Nick's neck in front of Oliver and delivers the line, "No one can know my secret."
No one can know my secret.
Back in her apartment, the two realize they're more alike than they thought. Both have secrets and a dark side. And how does that usually end on a TV show? With a kiss, of course. Helena wakes up in Oliver's bed and, thinking he's asleep, suits up as the Huntress and heads out to kill a triad leader. The plan was to frame her own father and let the Chinese mob finish him off. But the Arrow shows up and ruins everything, telling her there's a better way. Oliver tries to be her mentor, teaching her the difference between justice and revenge. But Helena isn't really in the mood for a lecture. In the Arrow cave, Diggle is furious. He hates the idea of Helena knowing Oliver's secret and thinks this attempt to save her is a terrible idea. But Oliver insists, bringing Helena to his HQ, showing her his father's list, and even giving her a new costume with a crossbow, a weapon that's a middle ground between his bow and her gun. Together, they take down a trafficker from the list without killing anyone, and for a second, it looks like the vigilante couple might just work out. But then comes the disaster, a double date. Oliver and Helena go out with Tommy and Laurel. The tension is immediate. Helena realizes Laurel is the ex Oliver cheated on, and Tommy feels pathetic for being broke. The night implodes, and both couples split. Furious, Helena decides Oliver's redemption plan is a bust and goes back into full-on revenge mode. She raids a warehouse and kills the triad boss, leaving one survivor to say the order came from her father, Frank Bertinelli. This, obviously, kicks off a gang war. China White and the triad storm the Bertinelli mansion for revenge. The Arrow arrives to prevent a massacre, and in the middle of the chaos, Helena appears and shoots her own father with the crossbow. As she's about to deliver the final blow, the Arrow stops her. The two fight, and Frank, though wounded, grabs the crossbow and shoots his own daughter. The arrow knocks the old man out and carries Helena, who is saved by her vest, away from the scene. In the end, she tells him she doesn't want justice, she wants revenge, and tells Oliver to stay out of her way before skipping town. Christmas is coming to Starling City, but the mood is anything but festive. A new archer appears in town, using black arrows and killing targets from Oliver's list. The police, of course, think it's the Hood, but Detective Lance is suspicious, since the MO is different. Oliver, who's been all work and no play since the whole Helena fiasco, is convinced by Diggle to take a break and organize the family's Christmas party, a tradition that died with his father. The party happens, but the atmosphere is incredibly awkward. In the middle of the event, Malcolm Merlyn, Tommy's father, even suggests a better name for the vigilante, Green Arrow. Oliver finds the name lame.
How about Green Arrow?
Meanwhile, the Dark Archer continues his hunt and takes 5 hostages, demanding a direct confrontation with the Green Arrow. Oliver doesn't back down from the fight and heads to an abandoned warehouse for the duel. The fight is intense, and for the first time, Oliver is completely overpowered. The Dark Archer is stronger, faster, and reveals he knows about the list, saying the man who wrote it wants the Hood dead. Before he can be unmasked, Oliver manages to stick an arrow in the villain's leg, and he flees. Gravely injured, Oliver is rescued by Diggle, who takes him to the hospital and makes up a story about a motorcycle accident for the family. The near-death experience brings the Queen family together for a moment. The Dark Archer returns to his hideout and removes his mask, revealing himself to be none other than Malcolm. At the same time, Walter, Oliver's stepfather, who is investigating Moira's secrets, is kidnapped. Moira confronts Malcolm, who admits to taking Walter to keep him from interfering with his plans. At the hospital, Oliver, though broken, tells Diggle his objective has now changed. He needs to find the real mastermind behind the list, the true enemy. We see a scene straight out of a nightmare, a firefighter setting another on fire with an accelerant. Yeah, the danger level in Starling City has officially been cranked up. It's been 6 weeks since Walter's kidnapping, and the vibe is funereal. Oliver is in a funk, and Diggle is like, let's get to work, Batman, the city needs you. But Oliver thinks his family is the priority right now. In a flashback to the island, we see Oliver running away as Yao Fei fights a masked man, only to see Fei get knocked out and taken away. Back in the present, Joanna's brother, the firefighter Danny, is the victim of the fire. She doesn't buy the accident story and thinks it was murder. Laurel, being a good friend, decides to help and uses the bat phone her father confiscated from the Arrow to ask for help. The Arrow, with his voice modulator, says he'll look into it. Oliver actually just delegates the investigation to Diggle, while Tommy, surprisingly, organizes a benefit for the firefighters. The Arrow finally springs into action and confronts the killer at another fire. The guy escapes, but not before Oliver notices a specific tattoo on his wrist. This leads to a fight between Oliver and Diggle, who thinks the other archer messed with our hero's head. Oliver admits he's now afraid to die because he has people he cares about. Diggle, the life coach, tells him to use that to his advantage. Laurel's investigation leads her to the fire chief, Rains, and an old story about a fire that killed a firefighter named Garfield. At Tommy's event, Garfield himself appears, very much alive and ready to turn the party into a human barbecue, blaming Rains for abandoning him to die years ago. Just as he's about to set the chief on fire, the Arrow swoops in to save the day. He tries to talk him down, but Garfield prefers to become a barbecue himself and walks straight into the flames.
You're afraid to live? Let me get you out of here.
In the end, the Arrow is hailed as a hero. Moira becomes the new CEO, and Lance gives the Arrow's phone back to Laurel, but not before bugging the device. Masked thieves rob an armored truck using action movie tactics. Oliver recognizes the military style and connects the dots to a name on his list, Ted Gaynor, owner of the Black Hawk Security Company. The problem? Gaynor was Diggle's commanding officer in Iraq, and Diggle refuses to believe his old boss is a crook. The Arrow breaks into Black Hawk to confront him, but comes face to face with Diggle pointing a gun at him. Awkward. Diggle insists Gaynor is innocent and asks for a chance to prove it. Meanwhile, Thea thinks her mom is cheating with Malcolm. Moira, under pressure, tells Oliver that she wasn't the one having an affair, but their father, Robert, was. A heavy secret to keep from Thea. To add to the family drama, Tommy's father invites him to dinner only to ask him to shut down the free clinic his deceased mother founded. Obviously, Tommy tells his dad to get lost. With help from Felicity the tech wizard, Oliver gets proof that Black Hawk is indeed behind the robberies. The Arrow intercepts the next heist and confirms that Paul Knox, one of Gaynor's men, is involved. The situation escalates when Diggle gets caught snooping. Knox and Gaynor capture him, and Gaynor reveals the robberies are his mission. He blackmails Diggle, either join the team for one last heist, or his sister-in-law Carly is dead. What they don't know is that Oliver is listening to the whole thing. When the time comes, Diggle turns the tables on the bad guys. The Arrow arrives to provide backup and, to save Diggle's life, puts an arrow through Gaynor's chest. Mission accomplished.
I can see it in your eyes.
But the night ends badly. Thea, high and upset with her mom, decides to drive and naturally crashes her car, getting arrested in the process. And on the island, Fire's henchman takes off his mask and it's Yao Fei. The Arrow is hunting a dealer of a hot new drug, Vertigo. The kingpin of the operation is a guy known as the Count. At the same time, Thea's hearing goes from bad to worse. The judge decides to make an example of her and rejects the plea deal, wanting to send her to jail. Oliver, desperate, asks Laurel for help, who convinces her father to intervene. The Count has a very peculiar HR method. He injects pure vertigo into employees who screw up, causing agonizing pain that leads to death. To get to him, Oliver decides to play the part of a mobster and uses his Bratva contacts. He even pretends to kill a guy to prove he's legit. Thea, furious, says she wants to go to jail just to ruin Moira's life. Oliver, out of patience, tells her the truth. Their father confessed on the boat that he was a liar. Moira overhears everything and is devastated. Thanks to Lance's help, Thea gets a new deal, probation and community service, supervised by Laurel. Oliver's meeting with the Count is a trap. The police show up, and during the escape, the villain injects vertigo into Oliver's chest. Diggle manages to save him with a homemade antidote, but Oliver is left in rough shape, still recovering. He asks Felicity to analyze a sample of the drug and find out where it's made. The Arrow, still weak from the overdose, can't even use his bow, so he goes in with fists and feet to the Count's hideout. He gets the villain and starts injecting him with his own drug, Poetic. At that exact moment, Lance arrives and sees the scene, but the Arrow manages to escape. Thea finally accepts the plea deal. The Count is arrested and left in a vegetative state in the hospital, and to top it all off, Felicity shows up with a bombshell. She shows Oliver a book identical to his father's, filled with names. She got it from Walter, who said the book belongs to Moira. Meet Cyrus Vench, a hardcore gangster who just got out of prison on a technicality. The first thing he does? Visits his lawyer, accuses the guy of botching his trial, and after a fake hug, stabs him and steals his mansion. Vench is here to bring order to the chaos, planning to fill the power vacuum left by other villains. Meanwhile, in the Arrow Cave, Oliver shows Diggle the notebook Felicity found. Diggle finds it all very suspicious. Why would Moira have a copy of her husband's list? Oliver tries to play it off as a coincidence, but Diggle reminds him that his mother is no saint, especially with Walter's disappearance. Laurel also finds out about Vench's release and decides she's not letting it slide. She calls her secret contact, the Hood, asking for help to get evidence and put Vench back behind bars. What she doesn't know is that her father, Detective Quentin, has tapped her phone and is setting a trap for the vigilante. The meeting happens on a rooftop. The Hood hands the evidence to Laurel, but the police show up. To escape, the Arrow does the unthinkable. He uses Laurel as a human shield, whispers an apology, and jumps off the building, vanishing into the night.
Sorry.
Things get worse when Vench, thanks to a police informant, figures out he can use Laurel as bait, and just like that, he kidnaps her. At the same time, Diggle, playing spy, follows Moira and overhears her talking with Malcolm about some undertaking and the sabotage of Robert Queen's yacht. The bombshell drops. Oliver's father's death was no accident. With Laurel in danger and unable to trust anyone on his team, Quentin swallows his pride and calls the Hood for help. The two enemies form a temporary alliance to rescue the damsel in distress. The Arrow invades the mansion but runs out of arrows and is captured. When all seems lost, Quentin shows up, saves the day, and arrests Vench. In the end, Oliver, devastated by the truth about his mother, puts on the hood and breaks into her office, ready for a showdown. Her reaction? To pull a gun and shoot him.
Oh, I'm not gonna hurt you, Felicity.
Oliver is hit but manages to escape. leaving a trail of blood behind. Wounded, he has no choice but to find Felicity and have her take him to the hideout. There, Diggle and Felicity become a makeshift ER team to save our hero's life, complete with defibrillator shocks and all. With that, Felicity Smoke officially joins the club. She already suspected Oliver was the Arrow, and now, besides helping stitch him up, she uses her hacking skills to break into the police lab and delete Oliver's blood sample. She says she won't join the team, but she agrees to help find Walter. Team Arrow has just gained its IT brain. In flashbacks to the island, we see Slade Wilson training a very clumsy Oliver. Their plan is to take an airstrip, but things go very wrong. Oliver steps on a landmine, tries to rescue Yao Fei, gets captured, and ends up watching Slade fight his former partner to the death. In the middle of the chaos, we discover the reason for Yao Fei's betrayal. Fires, the island's boss, is holding his daughter hostage. Back in the present, Oliver recovers just in time to pretend he knows nothing when Detective Lance shows up to investigate the attack on his mother. The irony is thick when Oliver hugs Moira and promises the vigilante will never hurt her again. He also shuts Diggle down, saying his mother is off limits to their investigation for now. It seems Oliver would rather live in denial than face the fact that his mother might be one of the villains. A new villain has emerged in Starling City, the Dodger. His MO is worthy of a horror movie. He straps bomb collars to the necks of innocent people and forces them to steal for him. Team Arrow, now with Felicity officially running tech, decides they need to stop this guy. But it's not all work. In a rom-com worthy bet, Oliver and Diggle challenge each other to ask someone out. Diggle finally asks Carly out, while Oliver asks out Detective McKenna Hall. In parallel, Thea gets mugged, and while trying to get her purse back, ends up meeting a bad boy named Roy Harper, who has a sob story to tell. To catch the Dodger, the team comes up with a plan. Use an expensive Queen family brooch as bait at a charity auction. The plan seems to work until the Dodger manages to turn the tables and place one of his explosive collars around Felicity's neck. The tension is through the roof. While Diggle tries to disarm the bomb, Oliver hops on a motorcycle and engages in a high-speed chase through the city streets. In the final confrontation, Oliver shows off his impeccable aim. Instead of killing the Dodger, he fires an arrow that severs a nerve in the villain's hand, making him drop the detonator. Almost simultaneously, Diggle manages to disarm the collar, saving Felicity in the nick of time.
Your median nerve's been severed. You could have...
Oliver and Diggle's dates go well and end with a kiss, but McKenna gets assigned to help hunt the vigilante. Thea confronts Roy, who returns her purse but warns her not to believe every sad story she hears. Moira, tired of being controlled by Malcolm, meets with the leader of the Triad and orders a hit on him. Things just got serious. An assassin named Barrera arrives by helicopter, but the Arrow is already there to greet him. The two throw down, and the Arrow finishes the job with an arrow to the chest, grabbing the guy's phone. Mission accomplished. Meanwhile, Diggle is giving Felicity some self-defense lessons so she won't be in a tight spot again. Oliver returns and asks Felicity to hack Barrera's phone to find out who the assassin's target was. In an island flashback, Oliver and Wilson argue about how to escape. Wilson thinks it's impossible, but Oliver, the optimist, suggests fixing the radio on a crashed plane. In the present, Oliver and Officer Hall go to a birthday dinner for Tommy with Laurel. Out of nowhere, Malcolm, Tommy's father, shows up with a gift from Tiffany's. Tommy gets pissed, pulls his dad aside, and rejects his invitation to an awards ceremony. Meanwhile, the Triad leader, played by Kelly from X2, pulls Deadshot out of retirement to kill Malcolm. His eye isn't what it used to be, but she gives him a gadget that corrects his vision. Now the man has a sniper's aim. Felicity discovers that Barrera's last call was to a restaurant in Chinatown. Oliver goes there, goes full Arrow, kills the lights, and gets one of the henchmen to tell him, in perfect Mandarin of course, that the attack on Malcolm is happening the next day. At the ceremony, Malcolm is named Humanitarian of the Year. The Triad members are disguised as waiters. The lights go out and chaos ensues. Malcolm shows he's not just a billionaire and fights like a pro, leaving Tommy stunned. The Arrow fights the Triad leader but is surprised by Officer Hall. Outside, Deadshot fires at Malcolm, who's wearing a vest, but one of the poison-laced bullets grazes him. To save Malcolm's life from the poison, Oliver has no choice. He takes off his mask in front of Tommy and reveals his identity to perform a blood transfusion. Afterwards, Tommy lies to the police to protect his friend. To top it all off, Laurel's mother shows up claiming that Sarah, who everyone thought was dead, might still be alive.
It's about Sarah. I think she may be alive.
Helena, the huntress, is back in town. She's at a strip club looking for her father's lawyer. The guy swears he knows nothing, but she doesn't believe him and takes him out for good. Meanwhile, Oliver's club is about to open. He asks Officer Hall to be his date. Elsewhere in the city, Laurel's mother, Dinah, shows Lance a picture of a tourist who looks like Sarah, insisting their daughter could be alive. Thea finds Roy and offers him a job at Oliver's club, but the peace is short-lived. Oliver comes home to find Helena sitting on his couch. She tells him her father cut a deal and is getting out of prison in 24 hours, and she wants Oliver's help to kill him, threatening his family if he refuses. On the club's opening night, Helena shows up and corners Tommy to force Oliver to help her. He agrees, and here, the network must have sent the wrong tape because the audio cuts out for a good 3 minutes. Just awkward silence with background music. When the sound returns, Thea goes looking for Roy, who didn't show up for work. He says he doesn't want her charity, but as she leaves, some guys attack her. Roy appears out of nowhere in a red hoodie, saves the day, and gets stabbed in the process. Oliver and Helena follow the convoy transporting her father, but it's a police trap. Helena is arrested. At the station, they offer her a deal if she gives up the vigilante. She talks trash about Oliver, but doesn't give up his name. The Arrow breaks into the station with smoke bombs and rescues her. Outside, he gives her a ticket to get out of town, but the night isn't over. Oliver goes to Hall's place, and the two hook up. Meanwhile, Felicity calls in a panic. Helena has her at gunpoint and forced her to find her father's safe house. The huntress raids the location, but the Arrow arrives to stop her. Officer Hall shows up too. Helena taunts him, saying Oliver wouldn't shoot her. He does, but she catches the Arrow. In the fight, just as the Arrow is about to win, Hall approaches. Helena uses the distraction to shoot the officer.
No!
A new vigilante appears in the city, calling himself the Savior. He live streams his executions, and Oliver is not a fan of the competition. Meanwhile, Thea and Roy's relationship hits a rough patch. She finds a gun on him, and he claims he owes some people favors. Thea doesn't buy it and walks out. In a parallel story, Laurel discovers the woman in her mother's photo isn't Sarah, leaving Mistress Lance devastated. The Savior strikes again, killing a district attorney. Felicity feels guilty for not being able to trace him in time. Things get personal when Thea sees the Savior's next broadcast. The new victim is Roy. Desperate, Thea tells Oliver everything. Felicity gets a lead, the sound of a train in the video. The Savior is using the city's abandoned subway system. In the island flashbacks, Fires threatens to kill Yao Fei's daughter, sparking an all-out brawl. Oliver, Slade, and the girl escape, but are forced to leave Yao Fei behind. Back in the present, the Arrow storms the subway just in time. The Savior gives Roy 10 minutes to justify why he should live. Roy, in a very bad boy moment, says he doesn't care if he lives or dies. Before the Savior can shoot, the Arrow appears and neutralizes him with an arrow. After the rescue, Thea and Roy reunite, and he finds an arrowhead in his pocket. Oliver and Laurel grow closer, and he tells her he doesn't want to be on an island anymore. But the calm is short-lived. Moira hands Helena's father over to Malcolm, who reveals himself as the Dark Archer and executes him. In the end, Oliver realizes his father's journal contains a map of the abandoned subway, connecting all of Malcolm and his mother's plans to the Glades. The conflict is much bigger than he ever imagined. The night gets off to a rough start in Starling City. A girl stumbles out of Queen's nightclub clearly high on vertigo and gets hit by a car. The heat is immediately on Tommy, as the girl had his phone and a suspicious amount of cash has vanished from his account. Detective Lance, who already has it in for Tommy, keeps a close eye on him. Meanwhile, the Arrow pays a visit to the Count, the original Vertigo kingpin, who is now vegetating in an asylum. But a new, more potent version of the drug is hitting the streets, and shortly after, the Count escapes. Coincidence? I think not. In the midst of this chaos, Diggle is focused on his own revenge, hunting Deadshot. He even ignores Oliver's calls to meet with an old army contact. His priority lies elsewhere. Lance gets a warrant and raids the nightclub, heading straight for the Arrow Cave's entrance. But Oliver is no fool, and the detective only finds a boring little stockroom. Lance's frustration is palpable. The lack of communication leads to fights all around. Oliver argues with Tommy for doubting him, and later with Diggle for disappearing. The team is falling apart, but Felicity, our favorite hacker, has a breakthrough. The new drug is made with medication from the asylum itself. Oliver realizes instantly the Count never escaped. A Arriving there, he finds the Count drugged and gets knocked out from behind. The real villain is the asylum's doctor, who recreated the drug. He forces vertigo on Oliver, but our hero uses an explosive arrow to break free. Diggle shows up in the nick of time to help, and Oliver, with the antidote in his system, defeats the doctor but spares the Count. In the end, Oliver apologizes, but Tommy is fed up with being a front and quits, going to his father, Malcolm, for a job. To top it all off, Oliver finds Deadshot's location for Diggle. The hunt is about to begin. For 5 minutes, it feels like a silent movie, full of shootouts, fistfights, and explosions, but with no one saying a word. When the sound returns, we meet the case of the week. Laurel is defending a couple against a corrupt investor named Rasmus. Things get serious when one of Rasmus's henchmen murders the couple, and their son Taylor manages to escape. Laurel, with her heart of gold, decides to take the boy in, but the peace doesn't last long. The same henchman breaks into her apartment. Luckily, the Arrow shows up to save the day and scare off the thug. To ensure their safety, everyone moves into the Queen Mansion. Meanwhile, Diggle is waiting for Oliver for their mission to take down Deadshot, but Oliver has other priorities. He chooses to go after Rasmus to protect Laurel. The result? Diggle faces Deadshot alone, nearly dies, and the villain escapes after mocking him. Their friendship sours completely. The trouble doesn't stop there. Rasmus's assassin doesn't give up and breaks into the Queen Mansion in the middle of the night, cutting the power like in a horror movie. Without his suit, Oliver has to improvise and ends up killing the guy with a fireplace poker. Yes, a fireplace poker. In the middle of all this confusion, Tommy sees Laurel and Oliver sharing a close moment, and jealousy hits him hard. He confronts Oliver, who admits he still loves Laurel. Heartbroken, Tommy breaks up with her, claiming he doesn't want her anymore, only to push her back into his friend's arms. To complete the cycle of misery, Diggle quits Team Arrow, and in an island flashback, Oliver is captured by Fire's men. The bottom line? Everything went wrong, everywhere, all at once. With Diggle gone, Oliver is back to being a solo vigilante, while Felicity tries to play team therapist, with no success. The mission this week is to find Walter, who has been missing for 6 months, and this is where the flashbacks start to spill the beans. We discover that Malcolm has an evil plan to reset the Glades, causing a natural disaster to rebuild it in his own image. Basically, an evil Sim City. Felicity finds a lead that points to an underground casino owner and decides it's her time to become a spy. The plan is for her to go undercover, get caught counting cards, and plant a device on the boss's computer. Of course, it goes wrong, and the Arrow has to break in to save her. He gets a piece of information, but it's false. They say Walter is dead. Then comes Oliver's master plan. He tells his mother Walter is dead, just to see her reaction. It works like a charm. Moira goes to confront Malcolm, and the Arrow, who is spying on them, discovers the truth. Walter is alive. The rescue operation is worthy of an action movie, with the Arrow parachuting onto a rooftop and clearing the floor to save his stepfather.
What's happening?
The family is finally reunited. We get a flashback. We learn the Queen's Gambit shipwreck was no accident. It was Malcolm who sabotaged the boat to kill Oliver's father. And to make matters worse, we see Oliver about to board the yacht with Sarah, Laurel's sister. What a scoundrel. Back in the present, Laurel, devastated by her breakup with Tommy, confronts Oliver. He finally admits he still loves her. With his heart on his sleeve and the truth about his mother and Malcolm weighing on him, Oliver goes to Diggle, apologizes, and begs for his help. The team needs to get back together, because the storm that's coming is a big one.
I need your help to stop them.
Things kick off with a masked archer breaking into Unidac Industries and scoring a perfect strike, taking out scientists and security guards like it's nothing. Clearly, this isn't our hero. Meanwhile, Oliver is freaking out over the news about his mother and Malcolm. Diggle thinks they need to investigate, but Felicity, ever the voice of reason, says confronting Moira is a terrible idea. Speaking of bad ideas, Laurel and Oliver have that classic "is this still a thing?" talk, making everything even more confusing. Out of nowhere, Oliver and Moira are kidnapped with tranquilizer darts and wake up tied to chairs. A hooded archer, who happens to look a lot like Diggle, demands to know the plan. After some theatrics, Moira confesses. The idea is to destroy the Glades with an artificial earthquake. She says it's impossible to stop, and the kidnapper leaves. But it was all a ploy by Team Arrow to get the truth out of her. Now they know about the undertaking and that the mysterious archer from Unidac has something to do with Merlin Global. To infiltrate the company, Felicity needs physical access. Operation Mission: Impossible ritual begins, with Oliver and Felicity rappelling down an elevator shaft. While she hacks the mainframe, Oliver goes to talk to Tommy and drops the bomb that he can't be with Laurel. Felicity is almost caught, but Diggle, disguised as a security guard, saves the day. In the midst of all the drama, Walter discovers Moira's role in his kidnapping and files for divorce. To make matters worse, Oliver and Laurel finally give in to the tension and hook up right as Tommy walks by and sees everything. Perfect timing to shatter a heart. The night ends with Diggle calling Oliver. They found the device. The arrow goes after Malcolm, but the villain has already moved the machine, and after a fight, yanks off Oliver's hood. "Oh no," Malcolm says, shocked to see who his enemy is. Malcolm has Oliver chained up in his basement, giving the classic villain speech about how Oliver doesn't know what he's fighting for. But our hero is no amateur. He breaks free and takes down a few guards just as Diggle arrives, having tracked him with a chip in his boot. With the city on a countdown to apocalypse, Oliver uses his voice distorter to call Detective Lance and warn him about Malcolm's plan, forcing the police to evacuate the Glades. By now, Tommy has confronted Oliver about Laurel and discovered his own father is a supervillain about to commit genocide. Poor guy. The final plan is split. Diggle goes after the earthquake device and Oliver hunts down Malcolm, but Diggle, being a loyal friend, decides to join the fight against the big boss. Felicity is tasked with guiding Lance over the phone to disarm the bomb. In the middle of the chaos, Moira holds a press conference and airs all the dirty laundry, confessing to the plan and blaming Malcolm, a true tragic heroine. The fight everyone's been waiting for happens. The Arrow and Diggle versus Malcolm.
Welcome, gentlemen. I've been waiting for you.
Diggle gets stabbed and the fight continues on the rooftop. Meanwhile, Lance, with Felicity's help, tries to disarm the device but ends up speeding up the timer. He calls Laurel for a heartbreaking goodbye. At the last second, Felicity figures it out and they deactivate the bomb. Oliver defeats Malcolm by stabbing an arrow through himself to hit the villain. But with his dying breath, Malcolm reveals there's a second device, and it goes off. The Glades start to crumble. Tommy rushes to save Laurel, who is trapped in the rubble. He succeeds, but the building collapses on him. Oliver arrives just in time to find his best friend impaled on a rebar, dying in his arms. Oliver won the battle, but he lost his personal war.
Thank you.
It should have been me.
After the destruction, Oliver decides to take a permanent vacation back on the island that turned him into a survivor. But Diggle and Felicity come to get him. His mother is in jail, and the family company is about to be stolen by an executive named Isabel Rochev. With no choice, he returns to a ruined Starling City. Life has moved on for everyone. Thea is now managing the nightclub. Laurel is a prosecutor, and Detective Lance has been demoted to a beat cop. Oliver's return is marked by an attack from new hooded vigilantes who kill the mayor and declare themselves the Hood's successors. They believe Oliver Queen must pay for the earthquake. During an attack, they try to kidnap him, but Oliver refuses to fight, focusing only on protecting others. He's traumatized by Tommy's death and no longer wants to be the killer his friend despised. The trigger for his return to action is Thea's kidnapping. The new vigilantes grab her at the nightclub, forcing Oliver to suit up again. He enters his lair, which Felicity has supercharged with state-of-the-art tech, and sets off for the rescue. He saves his sister and instead of killing the criminals, hands them over to Lance, saying he's trying a new way. In the business world, Oliver pulls off a masterstroke. With Walter's help, he secures a loan to buy the necessary shares and becomes Isabel's partner, preventing the hostile takeover. In the midst of all this, while Roy tries to play street hero, he's saved by a mysterious blonde vigilante.
Where the hell did you come from?
Oliver talks with Diggle and Felicity. He declares he can no longer be the Hood, the dark vigilante. He needs to honor Tommy's memory and become a symbol of hope, a true hero. Looking at the tip of one of his arrows, he decides it's time for a new name. The legend of the arrow is about to begin. Things kick off with a FEMA truck full of supplies being hijacked by the Triad, Mad Max style, complete with motorcycles. Roy shows up in full Fast and Furious mode to try and stop them, but it doesn't go well. His car flips, and he ends up arrested. At the station, Laurel presses Roy after finding one of the arrow's arrowheads on him. To her, the vigilante is no longer a hero. Oliver manages to get Roy off the hook, and in return, Roy tells him the Triad is stealing medical supplies meant for the Glades Hospital. Flashback to the island. Slade finds a map on the body of one of the men they killed. Meanwhile, Shadow is comforting Oliver, who's having a crisis after killing someone with his own hands. Back in the present, Oliver goes to the hospital and runs into a local politician who isn't a fan and turns the crowd against our hero. To make matters worse, the Arrow bumps into a triad mercenary, a guy with claws on his hands named Bronze Tiger.
I was promised a fight. I hope you haven't lost your nerve.
The fight is interrupted by the police, and the Arrow flees, but not before taking a bullet to the leg. This leads to a nasty fight with Felicity and Diggle. In the middle of the argument, Felicity blurts out that Diggle and Carly broke up, and Oliver didn't even know. Diggle says he can't get over the Deadshot and his brother's situation. Speaking of ultimatums, Thea gives one to Roy. Either he quits this hero business, or they're through. To complete the trifecta of trouble, the Arrow goes to talk to Laurel, who calls him a criminal and a coward, blaming him for Tommy's death and swearing to put him behind bars. To prove her point, she sets a trap. When the Arrow visits her again, she presses a button, and the room fills with cops. The Arrow is surrounded by police, but when all seems lost, a mysterious blonde vigilante drops from the ceiling like a ninja. She uses a sonic device that incapacitates the officers and helps the Arrow escape. Felicity and Diggle, of course, want to know who this woman is and why Oliver was in Laurel's office in the first place. Meanwhile, a villain Lance arrested years ago, Bart Mathis, has escaped from prison. He's known as the doll maker for the bizarre way he kills and poses his victims. Since the police are overwhelmed, Lance swallows his pride and asks the Arrow for help. The investigation leads them to Mathis's lawyer, who, after some persuasion from the Arrow, reveals the villain was at the Bisque Museum. There, Mathis calls and forces Lance to listen as he murders his latest victim live. Felicity has the brilliant idea to offer herself as bait to catch him. The plan almost works, but Mathis manages to escape, and Lance ends up arrested for obstruction of justice. To make matters worse, Mathis kidnaps both Lance and Laurel from the police station parking lot. Roy, who had been trying to find the mysterious blonde, finally finds her with her friend, Sin. He gets a message about the kidnapping, and the blonde lets him go. In the nick of time, the Arrow arrives seconds before Mathis can kill Laurel. The mysterious blonde shows up and joins the fight. The Arrow wanted to keep the villain alive for the authorities, but she doesn't think twice and kills the guy. In the midst of all this chaos, the blonde is visited by an assassin who says Ra's al Ghul has ordered her to return. She refuses and kills the messenger, and in an island flashback, Oliver wakes up inside a prison cell. The Arrow is fighting drug dealers who are suddenly using high-powered weapons. A city councilman tells Oliver that a new kingpin is bringing this arsenal to the Glades, a man known as the Mayor. Felicity, always observant, suggests the blonde vigilante might be following Laurel, not Oliver. And she's right. The Arrow sets a trap for the blonde, unmasks her, and it's Sarah Lance, Laurel's sister, who everyone thought died in the shipwreck.
Sarah?
I'll give you some time.
Oliver breaks the news to Diggle and Felicity, who are floored. He's vague about when exactly he found out she survived, leaving a guilty tension in the air. Flashback to a ship. Oliver is in a cell, being interrogated about the island, and gets shot for not cooperating. Later, he's forced to dig the bullet out himself to prove he's tough. Back in the present, Sarah reveals she returned to the city after the earthquake to check on her family. To combat the mayor, Oliver decides to sponsor a gun buyback program, but the event turns into a disaster when the mayor himself and his goons show up shooting at everyone. Sin, Roy's friend, gets shot, and Oliver saves the councilman by a hair's breadth. With the city in a panic, the Arrow teams up with Sarah to take down the mayor and his crew before they can hijack an arms convoy. This time, they leave the villain alive for the police. Afterward, Oliver finds Sarah and seems to convince her that she needs to tell her father and sister she's alive. In the flashback, Oliver is taken to a torture room, and when he looks up, he sees Sarah walking in. Yes, the same Sarah. We start with a flashback from 6 years ago on the Gambit. Sarah is lying to her father, Lance, claiming she's at college, but she's actually on the yacht with Oliver. Then the boat sinks, and they both fall into the water. But it was just a nightmare. Sarah is at Oliver's, who insists she tell her family she's alive. Meanwhile, Moira's legal troubles are heating up. The prosecution announces that Laurel will be part of the case against her. They offer a plea deal for life in prison, but Moira's lawyer refuses. Oliver is furious with Laurel for for taking the case against his mother. In another flashback, we see Sarah surviving the shipwreck on a piece of debris and spotting a freighter. Back in the present, she confesses to Oliver that she's done horrible things. Suddenly, a masked man, looking exactly like Malcolm, breaks into the house and attacks them. The man loses the fight but manages to escape. Oliver takes Sarah to the Arrow's HQ and introduces her to Diggle and Felicity. Sarah reveals the attacker was Aloe Wall, a member of the League of Assassins, an ancient sect of warriors. She was one of them but bailed, and in the League, that's a death sentence. Felicity tracks Aloe Wall, and the Arrow and Sarah go after him. The fight is intense, and they're forced to retreat. The villain leaves a clear message. If Sarah doesn't return, her family will pay the price. To protect everyone, Sarah decides to tell her father the truth. The reunion is emotional, but the peace is short-lived. Aloe Wall and his men appear. With the Arrow's help, the tide turns. Sarah kills Aloe Wall, Lance shoots another, and the last one is set free with a message for Ra's al Ghul. Her family is off limits.
Ra's al Ghul, that my family is off limits. His quarrel is with...
Afterward, Sarah leaves town, making her father promise not to tell Laurel or her mother. In the end, Oliver drops a bombshell on Diggle. He didn't spend all 5 years on the island, and in a final flashback, we see why. Back on the freighter, Sarah appears, kicks Oliver in the face, and warns him, "Prisoners don't talk."
Prisoners do not speak.
Isabel chews Oliver out for not taking the company seriously. Elsewhere in the city, Roy is playing detective for the Arrow, but gets arrested. In the confusion, Diggle is kidnapped. He wakes up tied to a chair, where a woman named Amanda Waller explains the situation. Lila, Diggle's ex-wife, went missing in Russia while hunting Deadshot. Waller knows Oliver is the Arrow, and asks for his help. As a result, Oliver, Diggle, and Felicity head to Moscow under the guise of visiting a company branch. However, Isabel, suspicious of an affair between Oliver and Felicity, decides to tag along. In Moscow, they meet an old friend of Oliver's, Anatoly. He tells them Lila is being held in one of Russia's worst prisons, and the only way in is as a prisoner. Diggle volunteers for the mission. Meanwhile, in a flashback, we see Oliver on the island meeting Dr. Ivo, who is searching for Mirakuru, a well-walked 2 super soldier serum. In another flashback, Shadow tends to a gravely wounded Slade. Back in Russia, Diggle gets himself arrested and ends up in a freezer cell with none other than Deadshot. Outside, Oliver and Isabel end up sleeping together, and Felicity sees it all, leaving her heartbroken. Inside the prison, Deadshot offers to help find Lila in exchange for his freedom. And in a shocking flashback, we learn that Sarah was working with Ivo all along and tricked Oliver into revealing where Slade and Shadow were. A bomb planted in a jacket blows a hole in the prison wall, and Diggle, Lila, and Deadshot escape. Diggle keeps his promise and lets Deadshot go, but not before learning that the contract to kill his brother came from an organization called Hive. Diggle and Lila are back together, and he begins researching this mysterious organization. We begin with a flashback to the earthquake in the Glades. A dangerous criminal, the Count, escapes from prison as everything crumbles. Back in the present, Moira's trial begins, and the prosecutor Adam claims to have an ace up his sleeve. In the middle of the trial, Diggle collapses. Felicity discovers he's been poisoned with a new version of Vertigo, the Count's drug. It's clear the villain is back in business. To make matters worse, prosecutor Adam himself collapses in court, also poisoned. The Count hijacks the airwaves, showing a sick Adam and declaring that the cure for the city is more Vertigo. With the prosecutor out of commission, Laurel takes over the case and finds the ace up his sleeve. Moira had an affair with Malcolm. Laurel confronts Moira, who ends up confessing everything to her children. In court, Laurel uses the affair to argue that Moira wasn't being threatened by Malcolm, but was his accomplice. The situation grows tense. Meanwhile, Felicity tracks the Count but ends up captured. The villain calls Oliver, revealing he knows his secret identity. With no time for the suit, Oliver goes to the Count's hideout. There, he discovers that someone wealthy financed the Count just to lure out the Arrow. To save Felicity, Oliver is forced to kill the Count with a Vertigo overdose. He returns to the courthouse just in time to hear the verdict. Moira is found not guilty on all charges. Everyone is in shock. How is that possible? We discover the mastermind behind the Count was the Alderman, who is actually the villain Brother Blood, and the ending is the biggest bombshell of all. Moira finds Malcolm, very much alive. He was the one who arranged her acquittal because he found out that Thea is his daughter.
They said said you were dead.
There are parts of the world where death is an illusion.
We see a Queen Consolidated warehouse where a guy rips open a metal door like it's made of paper and knocks out 2 guards. The week is off to a great start. Moira returns to work and Oliver makes her head of the board, much to the displeasure of Isabel, who looks like she just sucked on a lemon. Shortly after, Diggle reports a robbery at the warehouse. At the crime scene, Barry Allen appears, a CSI from Central City, who looks like he just walked out of a nerd convention.
The rest of the crew must have come in after him.
Actually, it was only one guy.
Great. Who the hell are you?
And do your parents know that you're here? I'm Barry Allen.
He analyzes the scene and, contradicting the police, says it was a single person with superhuman strength who stole an industrial centrifuge. And wouldn't you know it, the kid was right. A security camera shows one man carrying the giant device by himself. Felicity, clearly interested in Barry, invites him to help with the investigation. Meanwhile, in an island flashback, Oliver and the crew rush to find a submarine to save Slade. Back in the present, Oliver decides to throw a welcome back party for his mother, but the event is a total flop. To make matters worse, Malcolm shows up to threaten Moira, demanding she tell Thea the truth. The Arrow goes after the super strong thief, and the fight is like David versus Goliath. He can't win, but he manages to stick an arrow in the guy's leg. Oliver recognizes the strength from the island's serum and realizes the nightmare isn't over. Diggle, ever suspicious, investigates Barry and discovers his resume is more fake than a $3 bill. Oliver confronts Barry, who reveals his tragic past. His mother was murdered, and his father was wrongfully imprisoned. Now he investigates bizarre cases to prove his father's innocence. Then things heat up. Roy finds Sin's friend Max dead from an overdose. The Arrow tells Roy to stay away from the case and to make sure he listens, shoots an arrow into his leg. In the final fight, the Arrow is injected with an unknown substance and passes out. Desperate, Felicity calls the one nerd who can solve this, Barry. The final scene is her, next to an unconscious Oliver, saying, "Please save my friend."
Please save my friend.
Barry Allen saves Oliver with rat poison. Oliver wakes up and instead of a thank you, chews Felicity out for revealing his secret. Typical. To make matters worse, he starts having hallucinations of Shadow, who tells him to choose life. The flashback shows why. On the island, Ivo forced him to choose between Sarah and Shadow. Oliver stood in front of Sarah to protect her, and Ivo, without a second thought, shot Shadow in the head. Heavy stuff. Back in the present, the investigation continues. Diggle tries to play spy and is nearly turned into pulp by the brute Cyrus Gold. Meanwhile, Roy, on his own, breaks into a psychiatric hospital and is captured by Brother Blood, the villain in the skull mask. Blood injects Roy with the Mirakuru serum, and he seemingly dies. The Arrow raids the facility to save the day, and the fight against Cyrus is insane. When all seems lost, Oliver has a vision of his deceased friend, Tommy, who encourages him to keep fighting. With renewed spirit, he blows up part of the lab, defeats Cyrus, and manages to resuscitate Roy. That's a lot of power for one hero. And then comes the bombshell. Brother Blood works for none other than Slade Wilson, who is alive and well, bald, and has a sinister revenge plan against Oliver. On the island, we see Slade wake up with super strength, destroy Ivo's soldiers, and vow revenge on whoever killed Shadow, not knowing that Oliver's choice was the trigger. To wrap things up, Barry returns to Central City just as the particle accelerator explodes. A bolt of lightning strikes his lab, throwing him against a shelf full of chemicals. I think a new hero is on the way. The Arrow is at his wit's end, trying to get information on the man in the skull mask, but no one's talking. To complicate matters, a new villain emerges, a terrorist named Shrapnel, who loves blowing things up and posting manifestos online. Meanwhile, Roy discovers he's practically become Wolverine. He suffers a massive gash on his arm, which heals in seconds, leaving Thea completely shocked. The stress is so high that Oliver ends up taking it out on Felicity, accusing her of being distracted because of Barry, who is still in a coma. Laurel, in full detective mode, continues to investigate Sebastian Blood and finds a lead, the name of a certain Maya. Across town, the Arrow locates Shrapnel's hideout but walks into a spy movie-worthy trap surrounded by lasers that trigger bombs. With Felicity's help over the comms, he manages to escape by shooting the power box, a classic. Blood, trying to look like the good guy, organizes a rally to challenge the terrorist. Obviously, it all goes wrong. Shrapnel shows up, shoots Diggle, and nearly drops a lighting rig on Moira. That's when Roy springs into action, holding up the metal structure with his bare hands and saving Oliver's mother in front of everyone. The Arrow arrives in time to capture Shrapnel. After the chaos, Thea confronts Roy about his strength and miraculous healing, but he dodges the question. A remorseful Oliver apologizes to Felicity and encourages her to go visit Barry. On the island, Slade disappears with the Mirakuru. In the present, Laurel finds Maya, who reveals she is Blood's mother, and the truth is shocking. Blood killed his own father and had his mother committed so she couldn't tell anyone, and the Arrow, completely unaware, believes he's an ally. Sebastian Blood visits his mother in a psychiatric hospital, but shortly after he leaves, a masked man attacks the poor woman. Soon after, she dies of a heart attack. Laurel, who wasn't born yesterday, smells a rat and tries to convince her boss to investigate, but he backs down, afraid of picking a fight with a politician. Meanwhile, the Arrow is on a massive hunt for the skull mask, but finds nothing. Oliver thanks Roy for saving Moira's life, but gets suspicious when Roy can't explain how he walked away unscathed. Speaking of Roy, he's feeling like the Hulk and tells Sin about his new superpowers, already planning to go around beating up bad guys. Their plan: use Sin as bait to catch a maniac called the Starling Slasher. The plan works, but Roy loses control and nearly pummels the villain to a pulp, accidentally knocking Sin down in the process. Back to the main plot, Lance plays vigilante matchmaker and sets up a meeting between the Arrow and Laurel. She asks for his help investigating Blood. Felicity confirms his connection to an old crime, and the team decides to pay a visit to the city archives to get the proof. The mission is almost a success, but as they make a narrow escape, the file simply vanishes. Magic? No. Blood wiped the tapes and took the file back. Slade is furious with Blood's carelessness and orders him to clean up his mess. Blood's solution? Call a corrupt cop and have him plant drugs in Laurel's apartment, leading to her arrest. Things get even worse when Oliver, who is at Laurel's, is knocked out and she is kidnapped. The Arrow goes in for the rescue and brawls with the masked kidnapper, who turns out to be the corrupt cop. In the end, Laurel, no longer a damsel in distress, grabs a gun and unloads on the guy. With the cop dead, he becomes the perfect scapegoat for all the crimes, clearing Blood's name. Laurel is exonerated but fired because of the drugs. To top it all off, the Arrow goes to Roy and offers to help him control his newfound super strength. Bronze Tiger breaks out of prison in a visceral way, with the help of a guy who basically turns into a human Swiss Army knife. Meanwhile, the Arrow is trying to train Roy, attempting to turn the troubled kid into a hero and not an out-of-control rage monster like Slade. Speaking of politics, Moira Queen, encouraged by Walter, decides that being a former almost terrorist is the perfect resume to run for mayor against Blood. Laurel's life, on the other hand, is still spiraling downward. Her father tries to take her to an AA meeting, but she freaks out and leaves. To make matters worse, her career is hanging by a thread. Bronze Tiger wastes no time and gets hired to steal a prototype of Malcolm's earthquake machine. The Arrow brings Roy along for backup, but during the fight, Roy goes into berserker mode and nearly beats one of the henchmen to a pulp, allowing Bronze Tiger to escape with the device. Oliver is furious, seeing Roy heading down the same path Slade took. Roy is so out of it that he even threatens the Arrow. The situation escalates when the client who ordered the theft, a guy named Armitage, activates the machine. To stop Roy from doing something reckless and killing Bronze Tiger, the Arrow does the unthinkable. He pulls back his hood and reveals his identity. "It's me, Oliver." Roy's jaw hits the floor.
Roy, I need you to stop!
Well, she's dead. Everyone is dead.
The shock works, and Oliver manages to channel Roy's rage into destroying the machine. Mission accomplished. After the adrenaline rush, a mysterious woman named Amanda Waller shows up to recruit Bronze Tiger for a special squad. Looks like something big is coming. Oliver takes Roy to the Arrow Cave and officially introduces him to the team. Laurel arrives home stumbling drunk, only to come face to face with a ghost she thought she'd never see again. Her sister, Sarah. A mysterious woman makes short work of airport guards, Black Widow style. We soon discover she is Nyssa, daughter of none other than Ra's al Ghul. And why is she in town? To bring back Sarah, who is returned and is trying to hide from the League of Assassins. It turns out the two aren't just colleagues, they have a romantic past, which becomes clear when the Arrow catches them kissing. Meanwhile, Felicity, who's basically Google with feelings, uncovers the biggest skeleton in the Queen family's closet. Thea's father isn't Robert, but Malcolm. She confronts Moira, who begs her not to tell Oliver. But Nyssa isn't messing around, and to force Sarah back to the League, she kidnaps the Lance matriarch. Sarah's plan to solve this? To poison herself in front of Nyssa, a rather dramatic way of quitting the League. Seconds before stepping on stage to announce Moira's candidacy, Felicity tells Oliver the whole truth. The look on his face as he introduces his mother is that of someone whose world has just been turned upside down. He just whispers, "I know," to her, and the mood gets heavy.
I know.
The Arrow arrives in time to stop Nyssa from escaping. A tense fight ensues, and he manages to give Sarah an antidote. Seeing that Sarah would rather die than kill again, Nyssa finally releases her from the League of Assassins. Just then, Laurel arrives and sees her sister alive. The reunion, which should have been happy, turns into a horror show. Laurel, drowning in alcohol and resentment, blames Sarah for all the misfortunes in her life and kicks her out. Later, Oliver confronts Moira, telling her their relationship is over. He can't deal with her lies anymore. Rejected by her family, Sarah seeks comfort in Oliver's arms, and the two kiss. Elsewhere in the city, Slade informs Blood that he will handle the Moira Queen problem himself. A super high-tech robbery is underway, guided by a computer genius who looks like Teabag from Prison Break. Except his henchmen are kind of dumb, don't follow orders properly, and end up killing a security guard. Whoops! Meanwhile, Queen, Diggle, and Sarah are training and comparing their battle scars. Felicity, poor thing, feels left out, like the only normal person in a group of superheroes. To lighten the mood, Queen decides to throw a welcome back party for Sarah. In a flashback, the trio spots a plane going down. Just another day, another problem. Back in the present, the villain of the robbery, a guy named Talkman, doesn't like failure and kills one of his own men with a giant clock hand. Very specific and brutal. At Queen's party, the Lance family shows up, but Laurel decided to skip it. Sarah has to pretend she doesn't know Roy and Sin to maintain her Black Canary cover. The tension between Oliver and Moira is palpable, and a crime alert breaks up the party. It's the body of the guy Talkman killed. The Arrow and Canary join the investigation and discover that a skeleton key that can open any safe was stolen. The team finds out that Talkman has a terminal illness and is stealing to pay for his sister's transplant. But the empathy is short-lived as he sets a trap, hacks Felicity again, and blows up all the computers in the Arrow's base. The ensuing Lance family dinner is a complete disaster. Laurel finds out about Queen and Sarah and freaks out. Queen, fed up, basically tells her to grow up and own her problems. To catch Talkman for good, the team comes up with a plan. They use a fortune as bait and put Felicity in the bank to lure him out. While the Canary and Diggle handle the henchmen and a gas bomb, Felicity turns the tables. She beats Talkman at his own game, tracks him, and takes him down by blowing up the phone in his pocket. As a bonus, she even saves Canary's life. In the end, Queen comes home to find his mother having a drink with none other than Slade. What a welcome. The mood gets heavier than a Nolan film, with the three of them sharing a toast in one of the most awkward moments in TV history. In the island flashbacks, the plan is to attack Ivo's ship. Slade is driven by revenge for Shadow and wants to burn all the Mirakuru, and of course, kill Ivo. Sarah, to no one's surprise, is fully on board with the killing Ivo part. Back in the present, the tension in the mansion is so thick that Queen tries to stab Slade in the middle of the living room, but Slade is too fast, dodging like Neo in the Matrix, right as Thea walks into the room. Perfect timing. We then learn that, in the past, Sarah gave Queen an antidote for the truth serum, so when Ivo interrogates him, Queen lies through his teeth. Meanwhile, Slade and Sarah parachute onto the ship, and Slade begins a massacre. Queen discreetly calls Felicity, and Sarah, hearing Slade's voice, realizes the imminent danger and rushes to the mansion with Diggle and Roy. On the ship, it's an all-out brawl. Queen corners Ivo but hesitates to kill him. Slade appears, sees the scene, and becomes furious, blaming Queen for Shadow's death. A timely explosion saves Queen, who jumps into the sea with Sarah, but Slade manages to grab him, throw him in a cell, and take control of the ship. In the present, Slade's friendly visit ends. Before leaving, he tells Queen he's come to fulfill the promise he made 5 years ago. And what was that promise? On the ship, Slade cuts off Ivo's hand and swears to Queen that he won't die. At least, not until he has known absolute despair. To top it all off, we discover that Slade's visit was just a front for him to install cameras all over the mansion. He's now become an evil big brother. Queen is having nightmares about Shadow, a sign that Slade has already set up shop in his head. Desperate, he goes to the Russian mafia, the Bratva, to ask for help finding Slade. The boss asks for a favor in return, but Queen has no patience and beats everyone up. Meanwhile, Amanda Waller, the head of Argus, recruits Diggle and Lila for a mission to stop the sale of a toxic nerve agent. Their support team is Task Force X, a group of prisoners that includes Deadshot and Bronze Tiger, better known as the Suicide Squad.
Welcome to the Suicide Squad.
The mission gets tense right away when Waller blows up the head of a squad member who tries to escape, showing Diggle she's not messing around. Queen, increasingly paranoid, gets a tip from Alexei and tells Sarah to stay away from him, thinking Slade will target her. He ignores Felicity's warnings and goes alone to an address linked to Slade, only to find Alexei dead with an arrow in his eye and a video of Shadow on a loop. It was all a psychological trap. At the climax of the Suicide Squad's mission, Deadshot discovers the amount of nerve gas is massive. Waller coolly orders a drone strike to destroy everything and everyone. But Diggle and Lila come up with a better plan. They expose the criminal, cause a panic to clear the party, and manage to escape with Deadshot, narrowly avoiding the drone. After the trap, Queen finally opens up to Sarah, admitting he's scared and that Slade always seems to be one step ahead. They decide to fight together. Queen then goes to visit an old friend, who is none other than Amanda Waller. He tells her Slade is alive and asks for her help in finding him. She reveals that her agency has been tracking him, but under a different name, Deathstroke. The hunt is about to get serious. Arrow and Canary are keeping an eye on Lance while he's on duty. Things go south and they have to intervene, but they can't stop Lance from getting shot. Afterwards, he's pissed because Canary threw the shooter out a window. No big deal, right? Meanwhile, Frank Bertinelli, the Huntress's father, is in custody. This is basically an open invitation for his daughter Helena to show up for revenge. Felicity has been stalking Helena, who has become a mafia assassin, all because her father killed her fiancé. She wants blood. In a flashback, we see Slade torturing Oliver on the freighter, which is broken down and making Slade very angry. Laurel shows up for her second AA meeting, still unsure if she can stay sober in the real world. To make matters worse, her boss, Adam, calls her back to work to prosecute none other than Frank Bertinelli. This has bad idea written all over it. The arrow catches Roy nearly killing one of Helena's henchmen and has a serious talk with him. Oliver wants him to break up with Thea to protect her, but Roy refuses. The argument is interrupted when they see on TV that Laurel is on the Bertinelli case. The court hearing is a trap to catch Helena. The plan fails miserably, and the Huntress takes everyone hostage. Canary shows up to help Laurel, and the two sisters have a tense moment without Laurel knowing who she's talking to. She even vents about how strong her sister Sarah is. The inevitable Canary versus Huntress fight happens. Helena throws Sarah out a window, but the arrow arrives just in time. In the end, the police storm in. Helena's father dies in the crossfire, and Sarah nearly kills Helena, but Laurel stops her.
You're not a killer. You don't know who I am, Laurel.
The Huntress ends up in custody, feeling completely alone. To top it all off, Slade, who had been missing, shows up and offers Thea a ride.
You shouldn't be out in the streets alone.
Lisa.
Call me Slade.
He doesn't take her home, instead handing her over to Sebastian Blood. The kidnapping has begun. While Roy regrets breaking up with Thea, Oliver is dealing with company problems. He has to attend a shareholders meeting, but then Thea's kidnapping becomes national news during one of Moira's debates. To focus on finding his sister, Oliver, in an act of desperation, names Isabel as temporary CEO. Terrible idea. Felicity tracks Slade's car. Oliver goes to the location, shoots him with a tranquilizer dart, and calls the police. Seems too easy, right? It is. Slade has a perfect alibi, claiming he was in Costa Rica, and is released. In the interrogation room, he taunts Oliver, making it clear the game has just begun. Slade releases Thea, but not before dropping a bombshell. He told her that Malcolm is her real father. Thea is furious with her entire family. The kidnapping, it turns out, was just a distraction. While the Arrow was busy, Slade, as Deathstroke, freed a busload of prisoners to build his army. The situation only gets worse. Isabel uses her new power to take full control of Queen Consolidated. She was working with Slade all along. Oliver realizes the trap, but it's too late. To complete the chaos, Detective Lance is arrested for aiding the vigilante. Slade knocks on Laurel's door and tells her that Oliver Queen is the Arrow.
Oliver, what? Why?
Because I know Oliver Queen is the Arrow.
Team Arrow starts on the offensive, blowing up a Queen Consolidated building to stop Slade from creating his Mirakuru army. They know he needs specific equipment that has now gone up in smoke. Meanwhile, Laurel visits her father in jail and learns that he'd rather not know the Arrow's identity so as not to humanize the hero. She also starts putting the pieces together about Sarah, noticing her combat wounds and growing increasingly suspicious. Oliver uncovers a family secret. His father had an affair with Isabel. This explains a lot about her betrayal. Team Arrow's plan goes sideways when Slade invades their hideout, alone. He beats the crap out of everyone and leaves after stealing a digital skeleton key. With it, he breaks into Star Labs, where we meet two nerdy employees, Caitlin and Cisco. Slade steals a device called a biotransfuser, which is used to transfer his Mirakuru-infused blood to multiple people at once. It's like a super soldier printer. Felicity discovers the process will leave the donor weak. This is their chance. The plan is to let Slade start the transfusion and attack when he's vulnerable. They go to Slade's hideout, ready to take him down, but find a terrible surprise. The donor isn't Slade. It's Roy, who has been captured. The Arrow manages to disable the machine and rescue Roy, but the damage is done. Slade now has an army. Oliver gives a sample of the Mirakuru and an unconscious Roy to Felicity, asking her to create a cure. He confesses that he had the chance to cure Slade 5 years ago on the island, but didn't. To cap it off, we see Slade's army waking up, and Isabel, now also super strong, is among them. Roy is lying on the table in the Arrow's HQ, but the calm doesn't last. The Mirakuru hits hard, and he wakes up with a vengeance, knocking out Felicity and Diggle before taking off. Meanwhile, Oliver and Sarah are having a romantic moment, with Oliver even suggesting they move in together, but the vibe is cut short when they get the call about Roy's escape. In parallel, Moira is in full campaign mode, trying to convince everyone that being a mother makes her a better candidate than Blood. Thea, however, couldn't care less and tries to cancel her mother's rally at her club, but a contract's a contract. Moira realizes she has to choose between being a mother and a candidate. In a flashback, we see why she's so worried. Years ago, Oliver got a girl who wasn't Laurel pregnant, and Moira had to intervene to handle the situation. Back in the present, a completely out of control Roy starts attacking people around the city, including Sin. The Arrow and Sarah find him, and Oliver even takes off his hood to try and reason with him, but it's no use. Roy beats Oliver senseless, breaks his knee, and even kills a cop while escaping. Sarah is furious and wants to put Roy down for good, but Oliver insists on finding a cure. The climax happens at Moira's rally. Roy crashes it, attacks everyone, and grabs Thea by the throat. Sarah appears and shoots him in the leg, and the Arrow finishes him off with Viper Venom arrows, which only sedate him. After that, Sarah breaks up with Oliver, saying she's too much darkness for him, and just when you think the drama is over, the Queen family's limo is hit. Slade appears, captures Moira and Thea, and forces Oliver to make an impossible choice, just like on the island. Moira sacrifices herself for her children, and Slade kills her in front of them, warning that there's still one more person left to die.
To your son. There's still one person who has to die.
We open at Moira's funeral, but Oliver isn't there. The one who shows up to offer condolences is Sebastian Blood, who has just become the new mayor of the city. Thea is furious with Oliver for hiding the truth about Slade, and Walter tries to console her. Meanwhile, Isabel, now in charge of Queen Consolidated, shows up and immediately threatens Diggle and Felicity. Laurel, suspicious of Blood, plants a bug in his office and discovers that a press release about Moira's death was written the day before she was killed. Suspicious, much. Meanwhile, Dig and Felicity finally find Oliver. He's in a secondary hideout, completely defeated and ready to turn himself over to Slade. He believes it's all his fault and that his death is the only solution. But Laurel, who now knows he's the Arrow, shows up and gives him a reality check, revealing that Blood is working with Slade. This reignites a spark in Oliver. He confronts Blood, who admits everything, thinking he's already won. He reveals that Slade's Mirakuru army will prepare the city for his new vision. Little does he know, he's just a pawn in Slade's game. The army of super soldiers begins to take over the streets from the sewers. The Arrow and Diggle go after them, but Laurel insists on helping. During the chaos, Diggle is attacked by Isabel, who now even has a supervillain costume.
Not a word you often hear at someone's funeral. Where is he?
To make matters worse, one of Slade's soldiers invades the police station, and another starts a shootout at the airport where Thea is. The entire city is turning into a war zone, with Slade's army marching freely. Laurel is trapped under rubble, but the Arrow manages to get her out using an explosive arrow. Diggle is taking a serious beating from Isabel, now called Ravager, until Felicity runs her over with the van, but the villain just gets up and keeps walking. Things are so bad that Lance needs 3 grenades to stop a single one of Slade's soldiers. At the train station, Thea is about to be attacked when someone starts firing arrows at the soldier. And who's the savior? Malcolm, back from the dead, again, to protect his daughter.
Who are you? I'm her father.
Across town, Sarah also returns, already suited up as the Canary, and helps Laurel. The sisters' reunion is brief because the city is on fire. Speaking of which, Canary even saves a little girl from a burning building. The situation gets worse when Slade's soldiers destroy the cure for Mirakuru, but Blood, realizing he's been used, calls Oliver and hands over a spare cure he had. He regrets his actions, but it's too late. Isabel shows up and kills him on Slade's orders.
Boy, Mr. Blood.
To complete the chaos, Argus's Amanda Waller informs Oliver that if he doesn't control Slade's army by dawn, she will level the entire city. With the cure in hand and time running out, the first thing Oliver does is rush to the HQ and inject Roy with it. Thea, fed up with the lies, points a gun at Malcolm. He tries to have a father-daughter talk, but she's not having it and shoots him twice. The episode kicks off with Queen, Diggle, and Felicity in a church, while Roy is still knocked out cold. Slade's henchmen arrive just as Roy wakes up, but where's his super strength? Gone. Queen shoots a rope arrow and they bail out the window just as a helicopter fires a missile into the church, clearing the area. The pilot? It's Lila, here to save Diggle. The plan now is to load arrows with the cure and weaken Slade's army. Meanwhile, Thea actually shot Malcolm, but the guy is like a B-movie villain and was wearing a vest. Instead of getting mad, he's proud, saying she's made of iron and his true daughter. Bizarre. Back in the action, Laurel sees Sarah talking to someone and out of nowhere gets hit with a poison dart and passes out. Speaking of Sarah, she shows up with Nyssa and the League of Assassins. The deal is simple. They help take down Slade, and then she returns with them forever. To get Slade, Queen devises a soap opera-worthy plan. He confesses his love for Felicity, knowing the villain is listening and will go after her. Felicity, who's no fool, waits for the kidnapping with an injection of the cure in hand. Master of deception. In the climax, Slade has a sword to Felicity's throat and Laurel as a hostage, but Queen, being clever, starts talking about Shadow, Slade's weak spot. While the villain is distracted by memories, Felicity, bam, injects him with the cure. Sarah arrives in the nick of time to save Laurel. The final fight between Queen and Slade is insane, mixing the present with the flashback brawl on the freighter. In the end, Queen locks Slade in an Argus prison on the island of Lian-Yu itself. Poetic, right?
I keep my promises!
To wrap things up, Roy finds a note from Thea. She says she doesn't trust anyone anymore and has left forever, with Malcolm. And in a final flashback, Queen is taken by Amanda Waller to Hong Kong. Looks like the vacation is over. Team Arrow is firing on all cylinders. Arrow, Diggle, Felicity, and Roy, now in a stylish new suit, intercept a shipment of rocket launchers like it's just another day at the office. Crime is down, the city is improving, and the team is more in sync than ever. But it's not all smooth sailing. A new villain emerges, calling himself Count Vertigo, with a version of the drug that makes people see their worst fears. His goal? To kill the Arrow. In the midst of this, Queen finally works up the courage to ask Felicity out. She takes a moment to believe he's serious, but accepts. The date is happening, the mood is set, until, boom, a missile blows up the restaurant. The villain had planted a GPS tracker in the Arrow's suit. Queen saves Felicity, but is shaken, feeling he's losing focus. He goes after the crime boss, a guy named Werner Zeitel, who introduces himself as the new Vertigo. To make matters worse, when Queen tries to buy back his company, he comes face to face with a new competitor, Ray Palmer, a tech genius Felicity already knew. Palmer hacks the company's servers, gives a presentation full of numbers, and takes over Queen Consolidated. He even wants to rename the city Star City. The audacity. Vertigo's plan is to blow up the rival crime bosses at a boxing night. Oliver, feeling guilty about what happened to Felicity, tells Diggle to stay home, since he's about to become a father. During the fight, Black Canary shows up to lend a hand. While Felicity helps Roy disarm the bomb by freezing it, the Arrow captures Vertigo. After it's all over, Queen and Felicity talk. He says he can't be both Oliver and the Arrow, and the two share a goodbye kiss.
You
never loved me. See?
We barely recover from that when Sarah is hit by 3 arrows and falls from a building, dying right in front of Laurel. What kind of ending is that?
What are you doing here?
We start right on the ground, with Laurel carrying her sister's body to the arrow's base. The mood is somber, and Queen tries to console Laurel, who is thirsty for revenge. Cut to a flashback in Hong Kong. Oliver's mission is to kill his own best friend, Tommy. Shocking. Back in the present, Lance warns the Arrow that there's a new archer killing people in the city. His name is Simon LaCroix, aka Komodo. Meanwhile, the personal drama doesn't stop. Roy finally shows Queen Thea's goodbye letter, and the poor guy blames himself. Felicity, fed up with Ray Palmer's constant messaging, confronts him and ends up accepting a job with him, just for a fresh start. The investigation into the mysterious archer leads the team to a charity event hosted by Palmer. Komodo crashes it to take out another target, and the fight is on. Arrow and Roy chase the guy, and when they finally capture him, Laurel appears with a gun, ready to end him. But Komodo swears he didn't kill Sarah and even has an alibi. Laurel's gun, by the way, was unloaded. Queen saw that coming. And what do you know? Komodo's alibi checks out. He's not the killer. The hunt is back to square one. The team holds a secret funeral for Sarah, and Diggle, in an emotional moment, says he'll name his daughter after her. Laurel breaks down, saying it's unfair that no one will ever know who her sister truly was. In the flashback, we see that Oliver, to avoid killing Tommy, faked a kidnapping to scare him away from Hong Kong. And to close with a bombshell revelation, Thea isn't on vacation. She's in Corto Maltese, training hard with none other than her father, Malcolm. The girl is becoming a fighting machine. We start with a flashback from 6 months ago, Thea getting into Malcolm's car. She immediately figures out he's on the run from the Arrow and the police, but instead of bailing, she says she'll go with him because she doesn't want to feel pain anymore and thinks her biological dad can teach her to be stronger. Back in the present, the Arrow has hit a dead end in the investigation of Sarah's death. The trail has gone completely cold, but Felicity, brilliant as always, discovers that Thea is in Corto Maltese, an island in South America. Oliver decides to go after her, and Roy, though he thinks it's pointless, goes with him. Meanwhile, Lila asks Diggle to go to the same island to check on an Argus agent who has gone off the grid, a guy named Mark Shaw, and Laurel, for her part, seeks out a self-defense instructor named Ted Grant to ask about one of his students. Oliver arrives in Corto Maltese and finds Thea working at a cafe. He tells her he misses her and asks her to come back, but Thea hits him with a, "That's never going to happen." In another flashback, we see Malcolm teaching Thea to tolerate pain by pouring hot oil on his own hand and saying that suffering is optional. What a great dad, huh? Diggle's mission goes south. Mark Shaw is actually a traitor who steals an Argus decoder to sell a list with the identities of all their agents. Meanwhile, Laurel tries to play vigilante to help a woman from a support group but ends up getting beaten up and landing in the hospital. To convince Thea to come back, Oliver comes clean and tells her about their father's sacrifice on the yacht. The talk works. Thea has one last conversation with Malcolm, fights him, and apparently wins, proving she's ready to leave. At the airport, a guy spills hot coffee on her hand, and she doesn't even flinch. Oliver immediately senses something is different. Back in Starling, Missa Al Ghul storms into the Arrow's base with her bow drawn and a very direct question.
Where is Sarah?
Oliver and Roy slip up and tell her about the death, and Missa, who is no fool, immediately figures out it was an Arrow. Then comes the bombshell. Nissa reveals that Sarah was in town because Malcolm was alive, and he is a fugitive from the League of Assassins. Oliver is in deep trouble in Hong Kong, doing dirty work as a hired killer for Amanda Waller. Zero heroism, just survival. In the present, Team Arrow confirms the story and finds Malcolm himself. He escapes, but Oliver manages to track him. Plot twist. Malcolm calls Oliver and swears on his life that he didn't kill Sarah, claiming he only came back to protect his daughter, Thea. Oliver gets suspicious of his sister's nervousness. Nissa, with no patience for family drama, kidnaps Thea to force Malcolm out. An epic three-way fight ensues. Arrow versus Nissa versus Malcolm. Oliver, in a moment of fury, has the chance to kill Merlin, but decides to let him live and places him under his protection. Basically, he just declared war on the League of Assassins to save his sister. Thea was in cahoots with her father the whole time. The girl is more treacherous than she looks. Nissa returns to Nenda to inform her father, Raish Al Ghul, that the Arrow is protecting their enemy, and all hell is about to break loose.
Then Oliver Queen courts war with us.
This episode is more of a tech-focused breather, but it features a major Felicity reveal. Her mother, Donna, arrives unexpectedly and starts hitting on Ray Palmer, who's always around. We get to see Goth Felicity, a rebellious hacker in college. She and her boyfriend Cooper were close to wiping out all student loan debt, but Felicity backed out to avoid federal trouble. In the present, a hacker, Brother Eye, causes a massive blackout and threatens to rob everyone blind, using the very virus Felicity created. She figures out the culprit is Cooper, her ex-boyfriend who faked his own death. He kidnaps Felicity and Donna to steal money from the treasury. The hacker uses her smarts. She calls for help via the Wi-Fi signal from a high-tech watch Palmer gave her mother. A furious Oliver shows up, and Felicity herself, in a total boss move, disarms Cooper and saves the day. Thea invites Oliver to live with her in her new apartment, bought with Merlin's money, and he has no idea he's being watched by her father. Meanwhile, Roy starts having sinister nightmares where he's the one who kills Sarah, and the guilt begins to eat away at him. The Arrow, Roy, and Diggle find gang members strung up like sides of meat, with the word guilty written on the floor. Seriously messed up. Roy, already on edge from nightmares, asks Felicity to check his blood for any traces of Mirakuru. He thinks he killed Sarah. The investigation leads Oliver to Ted Grant, Laurel's boxing coach. Then comes the bombshell. Felicity confirms Roy's blood is clean, but she discovers the arrow that killed Sarah was shot with Mirakuru level strength. Roy, desperate, tells the team he thinks he's the killer. Laurel is devastated. The real murderer is Isaac Stanzler, Ted's former apprentice, who was seeking revenge for being abandoned. Roy remembers that, under the influence of Mirakuru, he killed a police officer, but not Sarah. Phew, relief mixed with crippling guilt. Stanzler is killed by a mysterious female archer who introduces herself as Cupid, another unstable vigilante for Oliver's list.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Cupid. Stupid.
The new vigilante is Carrie Cutter, a former cop who turned into a full-blown stalker after being saved by the Arrow. She starts killing criminals as gifts for her idol, with a notice me senpai level of obsession. The Olicity tension is at an all-time high. Ray Palmer shows up shirtless, buys Felicity an absurdly expensive dress, and to rub it in Oliver's face, renames Queen Consolidated to Palmer Technologies with her by his side. The look on Oliver's face watching this on TV is a total jealousy meme. Cupid lures Oliver out, and in the final fight on the train tracks, she handcuffs herself to him, wanting a love and death ending. Oliver pulls a Houdini, freeing himself at the last second and defeating her. Diggle, the voice of reason, tells Oliver to go after Felicity, but to everyone's dismay, he arrives just in time to see Felicity kissing Ray Palmer. Talk about bad timing. To make matters worse, Ray is designing a superhero suit, and out of nowhere, a villain appears and kills a guy with a trick boomerang. Yeah, really. The boomerang villain is Digger Harkness, a former member of Argus's Suicide Squad. The mess turns into a crossover when Cisco and Caitlin from Central City arrive to help Felicity. But the one who really saves the day is the Flash, who shows up at Argus headquarters ready to tear the place apart. Oliver, pissed about new heroes on his turf, tries to tell the Flash to take a hike, but Barry convinces him to stay. Their first couple's fight breaks out. The Arrow tortures an informant in front of Barry, who is shocked by Oliver's dark methods. The debate over what it means to be a hero hangs in the air. Harkness attacks the Arrow's hideout and hits Lila with a boomerang. The Flash arrives just in time and speeds her to the hospital. Oliver blames himself and realizes he's losing his humanity. Harkness plants 5 bombs, forcing them to work together. Flash disarms the bombs while Arrow handles Harkness. Oliver wins, but showing the Flash's influence, decides not to torture him. Lila survives. Diggle proposes to her, and Harkness is sent to the same prison as Slade. Arrow and the Flash cement their partnership with a friendly race.
Ready! Set!
The episode of The Great Fall. Nyssa loses his patience with Oliver and lays down the law. Either he delivers Sarah's killer, or the League will start murdering civilians in Starling. The messenger? Oliver's old friend, Maceo. Felicity discovers that the DNA on the arrow that killed Sarah belongs to Oliver. Of course, it's a frame job by Malcolm. The investigation reveals that Malcolm and Thea were in the city on the night of the murder. Oliver confronts Malcolm, who drops a twisted truth bomb. He shows a video of Thea, drugged and mind-controlled, killing Sarah, a bizarre plot plot twist and the justification for everything. Malcolm's plan is insane. Oliver must take the blame, challenge Ra's to a trial by combat to the death, and win. This would clear both Thea's and Malcolm's blood debt. Oliver, with no other way to protect his sister, goes to Ra's, lies about killing Sarah, and demands the duel. Oliver drops an "I love you" before leaving.
I love you.
The fight happens, but it's a massacre. Ra's plunges his sword through Oliver's chest and kicks him off a cliff. Game over? 3 days have passed, and Team Arrow is in the dark. Diggle and Roy are already mourning, but Felicity refuses to accept it. The villain of the week, Brick, is wreaking havoc and taking over the glades. And Oliver, he survived, landing on a ledge and found by a hooded figure. Back in Starling, Malcolm shows up in the Arrow Cave with Ra's blood-stained sword, as if it's a death certificate. He confesses he set everything up, leaving Felicity completely shattered. Brick raids the police evidence lockup, releasing most of the criminals the Arrow had put away. The team's work has been reset. Felicity, afraid of losing anyone else, orders Diggle and Roy to fall back, and Brick escapes. She's thinking of walking away from the fight. The hooded figure who saved Oliver is Maseo. A flashback reveals that Oliver saved Maseo's wife, Tatsu, and Maseo swore a life debt. Now, Oliver wakes up in a cabin, being cared for by both of them. The debt is paid.
So she could bring you back to life.
Oliver is recovering, but Starling has descended into chaos. Laurel decides to take up the Black Canary mantle to honor her sister, but honestly, she's pretty bad at it. Roy has to save her skin. Brick kidnaps 3 aldermen and demands control of the glades. The team attempts a rescue, but it goes south. Brick executes one of the aldermen in front of everyone. This tragedy ignites a fire in Felicity. She gets back in the fight, takes charge, and comes up with a new plan. Laurel uses a voice distorter to call her father and pose as Sarah, her first use of her alter ego. With Felicity on tech and Palmer's helicopter, they rescue the alderman, and Laurel even manages to make a badass escape from Brick. Maseo decides to return to the League, and just to make it clear that Thea is still in deep trouble, the handsome DJ who's been hitting on her is actually one of Maseo's spies. No one is safe in this city. Oliver leaves the cabin and finds Team Arrow holding their own in the glades. Malcolm shows up and warns Thea that the League is after them, and she needs to become a killing machine. Flashback and the big reveal. 21 years ago, Malcolm discovered his wife, Rebecca, was murdered. In the present, Felicity discovers the killer is Brick. Malcolm was watching everything through a camera he planted in the Arrow's base. He tries to forge an alliance with the team to kill Brick, but they refuse. An all-out battle breaks out in the glades with the enraged residents. Malcolm corners Brick to get his revenge, but the Arrow arrives in the nick of time and convinces him not to kill the guy, using Thea as his argument. Oliver returns to the base and drops a bombshell. He's going to team up with Malcolm to train and take on Ra's al Ghul. A furious Felicity is livid and delivers the killer line.
I don't want to be a woman that you love.
Felicity is on thin ice. Oliver is pissed at Laurel for fighting crime, thinking she's not ready. He finally takes Thea to the Arrow Cave and reveals he's the Arrow. She's shocked, but not angry. To make matters worse, the handsome DJ she was seeing turns out to be a League assassin and tries to kill her, but Roy shows up just in time and saves her. Laurel is hit with a dose of vertigo and hallucinates fighting her dead sister, Sarah. In the final confrontation, she overcomes the drug's effects and defeats the villain. With her duty done, she finally tells her father, Captain Lance, the shocking truth. Sarah is dead. Captain Lance collapses. Thea, understanding the real danger, agrees to the training. She and Oliver get the hell out of town. Oliver and Thea are training in the forest when Oliver gets a call and finds out that Slade Wilson's cell is empty. Malcolm admits he freed the psychopath to awaken Oliver's killer instinct. Slade knocks out the queens and locks them up. Thea uses the tension to pressure Oliver, who drops a nuclear bomb. He reveals that she was the one who killed Sarah, manipulated by Malcolm.
You killed Sarah.
Thea is destroyed. After locking Slade up again, they return to the city. Thea confronts her father and declares she will fight alongside him against Ra's, but after that, their partnership is over. He is no longer her father. Thea, headstrong, tells Laurel she killed Sarah under the influence of a drug, and the Canary, surprisingly, understands. Thea has a plan. Serve Malcolm up on a platter. Laurel, in her Canary suit, fights Malcolm to buy time, and then Nyssa and her ninjas arrive like a vengeance delivery service and take Malcolm away. Oliver decides to rescue Malcolm so Thea won't have to live with the guilt. He and Diggle head to Nenda on a suicide mission. They manage to infiltrate the fortress and find Malcolm, but it's an obvious trap. Waking up in chains, Diggle, already accepting his fate, asks Oliver to be his best man. That's when Ra's al Ghul appears with the most bizarre proposal of the series. He doesn't want to kill Oliver. He wants Oliver to become the next Ra's al Ghul. Ra's makes his sales pitch. Oliver can end the League's killing, get a career path, and is reminded that the Arrow will one day fail. He releases Oliver and forgives all debts. Queen returns and frees Nyssa, leaving everyone confused. To make things worse, Captain Lance confronts the Arrow, furious that he lied about Sarah's death. Their trust is shattered. Oliver, in an existential crisis, considers the offer, thinking the Arrow isn't enough. Then, the villain Murmur, with his lips sewn shut, attacks the police station. Oliver has an epiphany during the fight, realizes his place is here, and calls Maceo to refuse the offer. The response is sinister. The choice has already been made. Ra's al Ghul appears dressed as the Arrow, killing criminals and tarnishing our hero's maid. The war for his reputation has begun. Diggle and Lila's wedding is interrupted by a news report. The Arrow has become a serial killer. What a wedding gift. Ray Palmer, serving as a makeshift officiant, vows to use his technology to capture the real Arrow, who is Ra's in disguise. Lila and Diggle cancel their honeymoon for an Argus mission with Deadshot. Ray, in his generic Iron Man armor, uses his X-ray vision and sees Oliver near the bodies. He's furious with Felicity for lying and goes after the Arrow. Oliver disables the suit and asks him to trust Felicity. On the mission, Deadshot sacrifices himself in an explosion to save everyone. Before he dies, he confesses that his first target was Diggle's brother. So heavy. Oliver manages to calm Ray down, and Diggle decides to retire. The piece lasts less than 5 minutes. An arrow strikes the mayor. From a rooftop, Maceo aims his bow at Felicity. The trouble never ends. The mayor is dead, Palmer is in critical condition, and Captain Lance issues an arrest warrant for the Arrow. At the hospital, Felicity is by Palmer's side when he wakes up. The problem is a blood clot in his brain. The solution is an experimental nanotechnology he invented himself. Felicity agrees. Oliver goes after Nyssa, who gives him the location of a League hideout. The team invades, and during the brawl, Ra's appears with an ultimatum. Either Oliver becomes the new Ra's, or he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. The police arrive, and in the chaos, Roy ends up injuring several officers. Lance calls the Arrow, demanding his surrender, and Ra's seeks out Lance to drop a bombshell.
Oliver Queen is the Arrow.
With his identity revealed on TV, Oliver turns himself in. But in the police van, who shows up? Roy, dressed as the Arrow, shouting for everyone to hear, "Oliver Queen is not the Arrow, I am!" What a badass move. Roy is in prison, playing the hero to save Oliver. He explains to Queen that it's to make up for killing the police officer. The team clears out the base to protect Oliver. Oliver helps Palmer and his suit deal with a metahuman who shoots lasers from his eyes. Palmer gets his ass kicked, and Oliver teaches him not to rely solely on technology. In prison, Roy is attacked and injured, and in the season's big twist, a guard stabs him, faking his death. The whole team is devastated until Roy shows up alive at the hideout. The plan was genius. The stabbing was fake, and with the Arrow dead, Oliver Queen was cleared of all charges. Roy says his goodbyes and leaves town with a new identity. Ra's al Ghul pays Thea a surprise visit, runs her through with a sword, and leaves her to bleed to death. Oliver rushes Thea, who went into cardiac arrest, to the hospital. Maceo appears with a devil's bargain. Ra's al Ghul can save Thea in the Lazarus pit, but Oliver must become the next Ra's. Malcolm warns him that Thea will never be the same. With no choice, Oliver accepts. The team travels to Nenda. Thea is submerged in the pit and comes back like a wild animal, not recognizing Oliver but calling Malcolm father. Ra's tells Felicity to say her goodbyes to Oliver, and in desperation she declares her love. They finally get together, but Felicity immediately drugs him, trying to escape with him. The plan fails. They're surrounded, and Oliver, to save his friends, embraces his new role. He declares himself the heir to the demon and orders the team to leave while he stays behind. Back at the base, Oliver is branded on his back with a hot iron and dons the League's attire. Goodbye, Oliver Queen. Hello, heir to the demon. Oliver is undergoing a sinister, brainwashing-like training with Ra's. He even hallucinates killing Diggle due to a hallucinogenic herb. Ra's gives him his first mission: eliminate his arch-rival, Damien Dark. Oliver and a League squad arrive in Starling. Team Arrow is divided but decides to help Nyssa. A fight breaks out, and Oliver, already in villain mode, kidnaps Lila to force an exchange for Nyssa. Diggle is left with no choice and hands Nyssa over. During the exchange, Felicity tosses 2 guns to Lila, and the fight begins. Oliver Oliver wounds Diggle and only stops when Thea shoots him with an arrow. At the League's headquarters, Ra's announces that Oliver will not kill Nyssa, but will marry her to unite their families. The biological weapon Ra's wants to use on Starling City was hidden in Nyssa's sword the whole time. Diggle is furious, believing Oliver has truly turned to the dark side. Oliver secretly meets with Malcolm. It was all a plan. Oliver is faking his loyalty to destroy the League from the inside, but needs the help of his friends who now hate him. Malcolm brings Tatsu as backup, who tells them about the Alpha and Omega virus, and convinces Felicity to fight. Team Arrow, Tatsu, and Malcolm invade Nenda. The mission is a disaster. Tatsu is forced to kill Masao, her ex-husband, in a heartbreaking duel. The plane was a decoy, and the team is captured. Ra's throws a vial of the virus into their cell, and the team starts passing out. It looks like Oliver's plan has failed spectacularly. Ra's and Oliver's plane is in trouble, and in the dungeon, the team wakes up alive and well. Malcolm had vaccinated them all with Oliver's blood, which he developed an immunity to in the Lazarus Pit. And who shows up to bust down the door? The Flash, in a lightning-fast cameo. On the plane, Oliver reveals his deception. Ra's escapes with a parachute and the virus. The reunion in Starling is tense. Felicity realizes Oliver was on a suicide mission. The situation gets worse. Ra's has spread 4 carriers of the virus throughout the city. Thea and Diggle try to stop one, but it's too late. The climax is the epic final battle between Oliver and Ra's on a dam. Oliver wins, killing Ra's and taking the ring, but is shot by the police. Felicity, wearing Ray's armor, flies in and rescues him. The city is saved by an antidote from Ray. Oliver gives a farewell speech. He can no longer be the Arrow. He wants to be a normal person and finally be with Felicity. He passes the torch to Diggle and gives Ra's ring to Malcolm. The deal is fulfilled. Malcolm is the new Ra's al Ghul. As Ray's lab explodes, Oliver and Felicity hit the road, and he says the line that sums up his transformation.
I'm happy.
6 months later, Star City, now renamed in Ray's honor, is under attack by the Ghosts. Thea is now speedy, and Diggle has a new helmet. They can't handle the threat, and the city is going down the drain. The Ghosts' leader, Damien Dark, crashes a crisis meeting. He wants the city to die so something new can be born. The DA is poisoned, and chaos ensues. Far away, Oliver and Felicity are living a picture-perfect suburban life. Oliver hesitates to return, but Felicity is blunt. If our friends need us, we should already be in the car. Back in the city, Oliver, shocked by the destruction, discovers that Dark can drain life with a touch, like a video game villain. Oliver, now as the Green Arrow, fights Dark, gets his ass kicked, but manages to blow up the bomb train. Oliver and Felicity decide to stay. Oliver makes a public statement, promising hope.
To be the symbol of hope that the Arrow never was.
Captain Lance is working for Dark, clearly under duress. In a flash forward, Oliver is at a cemetery, crying with rage in front of a tombstone. Someone important is dead. Oliver is worried about Thea, who is becoming more aggressive. A family friend, Jessica Danforth, runs for mayor, inspired by the Green Arrow. Her event is attacked by Lonnie Machin, who wants to join Hive, the organization Diggle is hunting. Thea is out of control, breaking a criminal's arm. Oliver reveals the truth. The Lazarus Pit has side effects. Dark, who hates Lonnie's messy style, gives the address of a kidnapping to Lance, who passes it to Oliver because Dark threatened Laurel. The team rescues the hostage, but Thea sets Lonnie on fire with her baton. Laughing, Thea realizes the monster she is becoming. Laurel suggests a spa day for Thea, but the real plan is to go to Nenda and resurrect Sarah in the Lazarus Pit. Oliver runs for mayor. The final scene is Laurel and Thea digging up Sarah's body. Diggle gets a lead on his brother's death. A woman named Mina Fayyad, who hired Deadshot, is in town with a meta-human, Double Down, who can turn his tattoos into weapons. In Nenda, Malcolm and Nyssa beg Laurel not to use the Lazarus Pit on Sarah. The tension between Oliver and Diggle back in the city hinders their mission, and Felicity scolds them both. Oliver discovers Diggle's secret investigation into Hive. Malcolm, cluelessly, tries to get Thea to kill someone to quench her bloodlust. Since she refuses, he decides to use the pit on Sarah to appease Laurel. The nightmare happens. Sarah resurfaces from the pit, feral and in chains. Felicity and Curtis, the genius employee, are attacked by Double Down, but the hacker takes the metahuman down. Dark, furious, kills Mina Fayyad. Oliver and Diggle reconcile and work together, capturing the villain. In Nenda, a horrified Nyssa destroys the Lazarus Pit for good. She blames Laurel for what Sarah has become. Oliver shocks the team by announcing his mayoral candidacy. The new Arrow HQ is a gift from Cisco in the campaign office's basement. Laurel takes Captain Lance to see the new Sarah, who is chained up and acting like an animal. Lance is traumatized. Oliver catches Lance Lance talking to Damien Darhk. The confrontation is heavy. Oliver ran for office to impress Lance, but now he's disgusted by him. The team rescues Lance from corrupt cops. Oliver, in a powerful moment, convinces Lance to be a double agent inside Hive to bring Darhk down from within. Felicity finally listens to Ray Palmer's message. Laurel discovers that Sarah has escaped. The resurrected Sarah is in berserker mode, attacking everyone. Lance and Laurel try to find her, while the campaign manager tells Oliver to distance himself from the Lance family. We meet John Constantine in a flashback, captured on the island, who holds the key to fixing Sarah's problem. In the present, Oliver is furious with Laurel for using the Lazarus Pit. They discover that Sarah is hunting her killer due to the pit's bloodlust. The situation explodes when Sarah breaks into the apartment and attacks Thea. Desperate, Oliver calls Constantine. He arrives and explains. The pit brought back the body, but not the soul. Constantine, Oliver, and Laurel enter a spiritual dimension, fight off League ghosts, and pull Sarah's soul back. She wakes up sane. Before leaving, Constantine warns Oliver about Darhk's sinister presence. Felicity and Curtis decode Ray's message. He's alive and in danger. Flashback to 6 months ago. The explosion didn't kill Ray, it just shrunk him to the size of an ant. Felicity and Oliver discover he's alive, captured, and held by Damien Darhk. To save Ray, the team needs a piece of tech from Cord Industries. Sarah almost loses control again, showing that her demons are still there. Felicity is in a tough spot with Oliver, feeling guilty for abandoning Ray. Lance acts as a double agent and gives them Ray's location. Team Arrow pulls off a complex rescue, complete with Diggle as a ghost and Felicity parachuting. Oliver distracts Darhk, while Felicity and Curtis use the device, bringing Ray back to normal size. Ray decides to remain dead. Sarah, realizing she needs to heal, says goodbye and leaves on her own journey. Oliver and Felicity make peace. The catch: Darhk already has a new plan. Use Ray's technology to create a new energy source. John Diggle gets a hot tip. Hive killed his brother Andy because he was a rival in the criminal underworld. Darhk puts pressure on Lance, making it clear he knows he's a traitor. The team finds Andy, who is working for Hive, and rescues him. John confronts his brother, who confirms he became a criminal of his own free will, not through mind control. Thea confronts Darhk, and a sinister twist occurs. When he tries to drain her life force and fails, she realizes his powers might be the cure for her bloodlust. In the flashbacks, Oliver tries to pin the blame on Conklin, but a mystical artifact reveals the truth, and he's forced to punish the man. Oliver tries to clean up the bay. Darhk sends a drone. Oliver goes on TV and exposes Darhk as the leader of the ghosts. Darhk, furious, crashes the team's Christmas party, knocks out Oliver, and kidnaps Felicity, Diggle, and Thea. Oliver surrenders. Darhk takes him to his hideout and shows him his plan, a gas chamber. He throws the hostages inside. Laurel arrives with her canary cry, shatters the glass, and saves everyone. Oliver, in a powerful moment, finally proposes to Felicity in front of everyone. She accepts, but the happiness is short-lived. Hive attacks their limousine, and Oliver finds Felicity unconscious and bleeding. We see a flashback of Oliver negotiating with the island's leader, using Tiana's safety in exchange for his help. In the present, Laurel discovers that her father, Quentin Lance, is involved with Donna Smoke, Felicity's mother. In-laws dating? What a mess. The villain Machen kidnaps Damien Darhk's wife and daughter. Villain versus villain. Team Arrow saves Darhk's family. Oliver spots Darhk, abandons the fight with Machen, and goes after his main target. Darhk uses his magic, hurts Oliver, and lets him go as a thank you for saving his family. Flash forward. We see Oliver and Barry in front of the tombstone. A grieving Felicity is direct.
You have to kill this son of a bitch.
Diggle and Lila's day off is ruined when an Argus colleague is kidnapped. Felicity, now in a wheelchair, is in a major funk, feeling useless and hallucinating her goth hacker persona. The kidnapping investigation points to Shadowspire, the same organization Diggle fought in Afghanistan. He confronts the imprisoned Andy and gets a lead. Shadowspire invades Argus looking for the Rubicon Protocol. Their leader, Joyner, cold-bloodedly kills Amanda Waller, the head of Argus. When she refuses to cooperate, Felicity rises from the ashes, takes the codename Overwatch, and gets back in the game. In a brilliant plan, the Diggle brothers team up, and Team Arrow saves the day. John forgives Andy and brings him home. Diggle has his brother back. Thea collapses on a mission, and Felicity struggles to adjust at work. The trouble this week is the return of Roy Harper. He's being forced to steal tech by a blackmailing hacker, the Calculator. In a crucial subplot, Nisa seeks a mystical item called the Lotus, which is the cure for Thea. She fights Tatsu and obtains it. Back in Star City, the Calculator calculator, who wants to cause a citywide blackout, reveals his identity. He is Felicity's long-lost father. Felicity barely processes the shock before receiving more terrible news. Thea has fallen into a coma. Nyssa appears at the hospital with the Lotus, but her condition is brutal. Oliver must kill Malcolm. Oliver's moral dilemma is at its peak: kill Malcolm and save Thea, or maintain his code. He tries to convince Malcolm to hand over Raisha ring to Nyssa, but the former Raish sets an ambush. Malcolm plays his dirtiest card. He reveals he knows about William. With Oliver blackmailed, the only way out is a trial by combat between Nyssa and Malcolm. Oliver steps into the fight, declaring, "I fight for my wife." He doesn't kill Malcolm, but he does the unthinkable. He cuts off his hand, takes the ring, and gives it to Nyssa. In return, she gives him the Lotus. Thea is cured, and Nyssa disbands the League of Assassins. Malcolm, now handless and powerless, swears revenge and calls Dark, revealing the secret. Oliver's weak point is William. The mayoral race pits Oliver against Ruby Adams, Dark's wife. Captain Lance is almost flattened in an attack, but Laurel saves him. To protect her, Lance breaks up with Donna Smoke, a classic lame excuse. Thea discovers that William is Oliver's son and agrees to keep the secret. In flashbacks, Oliver kills an enemy under Tiana's influence. The Demolition team attacks the candidates' debate. Lance tells Donna the truth about Hive, and they get back together. Curtis gives Felicity a bio-implant that will allow her to walk. The joy is short-lived. Damien Dark kidnaps William. Felicity, frustrated with physical therapy, receives Dark's ultimatum. Either Oliver drops out of the race, or William dies. The bomb explodes. Oliver finally tells Felicity he has a son. She is devastated by the lies from everyone, including Malcolm and Barry. Oliver calls in Vixen Mari McCabe, a mystical hero, to track the boy. They discover Dark's power comes from a mystical idol on a ley line. Oliver publicly announces he is withdrawing from the campaign. Vixen and the team locate Dark, and Vixen shatters the idol. Powerless, Dark is defeated and arrested. William is rescued by the police but reveals his kidnapper was missing a hand. Oliver sends William far away to protect him. The price is high. A devastated Felicity returns the engagement ring. She needs space. In the most ironic moment, the implant works, and she stands up from her wheelchair and walks out of his life. The villain Cupid returns, hunting down couples. Dark's lawyer plays dirty in court, exposing that Diggle once helped Thea buy drugs. To lure out Cupid, the team stages a fake wedding for Oliver and Felicity. At the altar, Felicity gives a powerful speech about love, calming the villain, who is then arrested. In the end, the judge denies Dark's motion. Thanks to Captain Lance's sacrifice, he gets suspended, but testifies. But the victory is bittersweet. Felicity breaks up with Oliver for good, claiming he will never change, and leaves Team Arrow. Dark smiles in his cell, pulling a ring from his mouth. He hasn't been defeated. The sinister hacker Brie Larvin, the Bee, escapes from prison and targets Palmer Tech for Felicity's biochip. Oliver is taking out his post-breakup frustration during training, and the mood is incredibly tense. Brie creates a giant bee-man and stings Oliver, causing the bee to replicate inside him. Curtis, who discovers Oliver is the Green Arrow and freaks out, has the brilliant idea to use Laurel's canary cry to short-circuit the swarm's hive mind, saving Oliver. Felicity and Curtis team up to defeat Brie, leaving her in a coma. Oliver invites Curtis to the team. Felicity, however, decides not to return. She embraces her new path as the hero Overwatch, transforming Palmer Tech into a beacon of hope. The catch: Malcolm recruits Andy Diggle. A betrayal is imminent. Andy reveals that Merlin wants his help. Ruva Dark wins the mayoral election. Merlin attacks the lair, but his target is the mystical idol. Thea hesitates to fight her father, allowing him to escape with the artifact. Oliver's distrust of Andy grows. The bombshell: Diggle reveals he hid a piece of the idol, and Oliver overhears everything. Their friendship shatters, and Diggle pulls a gun on Oliver to defend his brother. Ruby orchestrates a prison riot. Laurel, suited up as Black Canary, helps the team. Inside the prison, the truth comes out. Andy was a traitor all along. He hands the idol piece to Dark, who regains his powers. Dark immobilizes the team and in a cruel act, stabs Laurel with one of Oliver's arrows. Dark, Merlin, and Andy escape. At the hospital, Laurel shares an emotional final "I love you" with Oliver, gives him a photo of herself, and has a seizure. Time of death: 11:59. The team and Captain Lance collapse in grief. The funeral is tense. Guilt is consuming Diggle. A devastated Oliver is confronted by Lance, who refuses to accept his daughter's death. An imposter Black Canary emerges, stealing equipment and attacking Ruby Adams. The team discovers she is Evelyn Sharp, a teenager whose parents were killed by Hive. Oliver convinces her to stop, appealing to the true Black Canary's legacy. At Laurel's funeral, Oliver takes the pulpit and drops a bombshell.
Laurel Lance was the Black Canary.
Alone, he swears to Barry that he will kill Dark. He confesses to Felicity that Dark's power is pure darkness. Dark executes his own henchmen. Oliver seeks a magical upgrade and finds the shaman Ezrin Fortuna, who tells him he can fight Dark with light, but he has too much darkness within him. Diggle, blinded by revenge, goes after Andy and is captured. Thea realizes the suburban neighborhood Alex took her to is a trap, the Ark, and that he's been drugging her. Dark's plan is revealed. Capture Lila to get the Rubicon chip, a program capable of launching every nuclear missile in the world. Oliver manages to repel Dark's magic. Diggle corners Andy, who threatens him. Diggle shoots and kills his own brother. Lila drops the bombshell. Rubicon is active. The Ark, the fake town where Thea is imprisoned, is Dark's safe haven. Nuclear apocalypse. 21 hours until the end of the world. The only hope is the Calculator, Felicity's father. Dark needs the missile to hit its target for his power to become infinite. In the Ark, Thea discovers Merlin is the master of ceremonies. Team Arrow invades Palmer Tech. The Calculator throws himself in front of Felicity to protect her. They stop all the missiles, except one. In an impossible decision, Felicity diverts the missile to Haven Rock, sacrificing thousands to save millions. Oliver and Diggle find Dark in a chamber, absorbing power from his idol, growing stronger by the second. Oliver and Diggle try to confront Dark, but the villain vanishes. In the Ark, Thea discovers Alex is dead and is brainwashed by Merlin. The Calculator and Curtis try to stop the nuclear attack. Oliver and Diggle rescue Thea. Brainwashed, she attacks her own brother. After they escape, Ruve offers a bounty for their heads. Felicity's ex-boyfriend, now working for Hive, reverses her hack. The psychopath Lonnie Machin storms the Ark's command room, taking Ruve and her daughter hostage. Oliver convinces Thea to break free from her trance. In the fight against Machin, Ruve is mortally wounded and the Ark collapses. Dark, upon learning of his wife's death, becomes even more unhinged and decides to destroy the world anyway. Dark appears in Felicity's apartment to settle the score. Dark forces Felicity to reactivate Rubicon. He escapes with her laptop, launching 15,000 nuclear missiles. The world has 2 hours. Oliver, in crisis over Laurel's death, is saved by an inspiring speech from Curtis. With his spirits renewed, Oliver hops into a taxi, unmasked, and delivers an epic speech that unites the city. The collective hope of the populace weakens Dark's magic, which feeds on fear.
We survived the outbreak, and somehow, some way, we will survive this!
Felicity convinces her ex Cooper to betray Dark. He diverts the missile targeting Star City, but Dark kills him remotely. The final battle takes place on the streets. Ordinary citizens fight alongside Team Arrow. Dark's magic fails, and the fight becomes a one-on-one brawl. Oliver drives an arrow through Dark's heart, ending the nuclear threat. The victory is bittersweet. Lance and Donna leave town. Thea hangs up her hood. Diggle, wrapped with guilt, re-enlists in the army. Only Oliver and Felicity remain in the lair, staring at the empty uniforms. Oliver is appointed interim mayor. The original Team Arrow has completely disbanded. 5 months later, Oliver Queen is the new mayor and the Green Arrow. He's alone and distrustful, shooting a new masked vigilante, Wild Dog, in the leg. The new crime boss, Tobias Church, aims to take over the city and kidnaps Mayor Oliver Queen. Thea refuses to return to action, and Oliver is alone in captivity. He breaks free and escapes with help from Thea, who finally suits up. Remembering Laurel's last wish, that she not be the last Black Canary, Oliver finally relents and agrees to build a new team. He creates a new anti-crime unit. Curtis gets mugged and shows up, beaten, asking to join the team. Felicity has a new boyfriend, and to close the episode, a mysterious black-clad archer kills one of the new officers in Oliver's unit. Meanwhile, Wild Dog gets into trouble. Green Arrow shows up to help and invites him to join the team. Oliver imposes Bratva rules on their training. The original trio wears masks, and the recruits must ring a bell to win. They fail miserably. Thea hires Quentin Lance to help him get back on his feet. The villain Ragman attacks an Amertech executive. Diggle's mission goes wrong. He's betrayed and framed by corrupt American soldiers. Felicity is forced to confess her role in the city's destruction. Oliver, remembering that Bratva's trick was to work as a team, and that his partners ended up executed, abandons the tactic. Ragman attacks the Amertech CEO and reveals his motive: revenge for the bomb Felicity dropped on Haven Rock. To earn Ragman's trust, Oliver lets Church beat him up until Ragman finally steps in to help. Oliver recruits Ragman, and the other recruits, Wild Dog, Artemis, and Mr. Terrific, agree to stay. Tobias Church is attacked by a sinister figure named Prometheus, who says the Green Arrow is his to deal with. Oliver continues his hardline training. Diggle is in military prison, hallucinating Deadshot due to his guilt over Andy's death. Oliver Oliver is not pleased to learn Thea has appointed Quentin Lance as deputy mayor. Renee and Evelyn disobey orders and go after Derek Sampson. The villain falls into a vat of a drug and becomes a super soldier who feels no pain. Rory confronts Felicity and she tells him the truth about Haven Rock. Devastated, he leaves. Oliver discovers Sampson's plan to give his gang the same treatment. Diggle realizes Deadshot is a guilt-induced hallucination. Team 2.0 comes together, and Oliver defeats Sampson by severing his tendons, proving the body can be broken even without pain. Oliver finally brings the team to the real Arrow Cave. Lila shows up with a request. Oliver needs to break Diggle out of prison. Rory asks to leave. Unable to look at Felicity, Oliver and Lila plan Diggle's escape. Tobias Church and his army steal a heavy arsenal from the police. Team 2.0 confronts Oliver, and he takes them all down. Oliver infiltrates the prison, hiding in a laundry cart, and after knocking Diggle out and forcing a lockdown, finds him. He convinces him to escape, telling him to seek redemption as Spartan. Church attacks the anti-crime unit. Rory reappears to help the team. Mr. Terrific is stabbed, and Wild Dog is captured by Church. Oliver and Diggle escape the prison on a plane. Church tortures Wild Dog, who cracks under pressure and reveals the truth. The Green Arrow is Oliver Queen. Diggle rejoins the team. The team discovers that the Oliver who was shot in public was Christopher Chance, the human target, a master of disguise hired to fake the hero's death. His identity is safe, for now. The Arrow captures Church, who issues a warning about Prometheus. As the police transport Church, Prometheus himself intercepts the convoy, confirms Oliver is the Arrow, and kills Church, taking over as the city's main threat. Prometheus begins killing random civilians with throwing stars, causing panic and angering the recruits. Felicity discovers a pattern. The victims are connected to Oliver's original kill list. This shocks the new team, especially Evelyn, who is unaware of her boss's vigilante past. The team splits up to protect the next potential victims. Evelyn confronts Prometheus and manages to cut his arm but is overpowered. Felicity tells her boyfriend, Detective Billy, that she works with the Green Arrow. The episode's bombshell. Felicity finds evidence suggesting Prometheus might be Quentin Lance, who wakes up from a drunken blackout with a cut on his arm identical to the villain's and a throwing star on his table. A new vigilante called Vigilante appears and executes criminals without mercy. Quentin, convinced he's Prometheus during his blackouts, resigns and checks into rehab. Oliver and D.A. Chase save a thief from Vigilante. Oliver and reporter Susan Williams grow closer. Team Arrow sets a trap for Vigilante, who narrowly escapes. Oliver and Thea deduce that Prometheus is framing Quentin because he knows Oliver is the Green Arrow and wants to mess with the people around him.
What if Prometheus knows I'm the Green Arrow?
The ultimate betrayal. The final scene reveals that Evelyn, Artemis, has been secretly working with Prometheus all along. Prometheus attacks Curtis at the mayor's Christmas party. Oliver and Susan, and Felicity and Billy have awkward double dates. The team discovers Prometheus is using a drug linked to Justin Claiborne, a target Oliver killed years ago. Artemis attacks Wild Dog, revealing her betrayal. Curtis tells his husband he's a vigilante, and the man leaves him. Prometheus is Claiborne's son, who trained for revenge. Billy, Felicity's boyfriend, figures this out and is captured. In a psychological trap, Prometheus forces Oliver to shoot at who he thinks is the villain. Oliver accidentally kills Billy, who was gagged and bound in the suit. Oliver killed his ex's boyfriend. Devastated, Oliver returns to the cave. Diggle is arrested by the FBI in a setup. Oliver seeks comfort with Susan. The final scene is a shocker. Laurel Lance is alive in the Arrow Cave. Oliver is stunned by Laurel's return. Felicity runs a DNA test and reveals the bombshell. It's not Laurel, it's Black Siren, her evil doppelganger from Earth 2. Freed by Prometheus, Black Siren attacks the team, but Oliver, with his hero complex, believes he can save her and locks her in the cave. Felicity isn't buying it. Black Siren escapes, but Felicity uses nano trackers. The team walks into a trap set by Prometheus. Felicity runs a DNA test and reveals the bombshell, but Mr. Terrific neutralizes her powers, and Felicity knocks her out with a punch. Oliver decides to keep Black Siren in an Argus prison, still believing he can bring the real Laurel back. Oliver is obsessed with finding a new Black Canary, but rejects every candidate. Curtis suggests an urban legend. Tina Boland, a woman with a sonic scream. Diggle is still in prison, and Oliver decides Felicity needs to hack the government to prove General Walker is corrupt. At night, they find Tina in Hub City. She reveals she was an undercover cop who went rogue after her partner was murdered. Felicity hacks the deep web, finds the group Helix, and a younger version of herself. Her new friend exonerates Diggle and gives her the Pandora program. The team helps Tina hunt hunt down Sean Sonis, her partner's killer. In the confrontation, Tina executes Sonis in cold blood. Revenge doesn't heal her. She seeks out Oliver and reveals her real name. Dinah Drake, the original Canary, is back. General Walker flees with a nuclear trigger to Russia. Oliver and the team travel there, leaving Renee to babysit Quentin, who is out of rehab. Oliver has a warm reunion with Anatoly, a punch to the face, courtesy of unresolved issues with the Bratva. Oliver does a dirty job for the mob to get their help, which disturbs him. Felicity is overusing Pandora, worrying Rory with her dark hacker side. Diggle defeats Walker but refuses to kill him. Walker activates the bomb. In a heroic act, Rory uses his mystical rags to contain the blast, surviving but losing his powers and leaving the team. The icing on the cake. Susan Williams discovers Oliver is the Green Arrow. The mayor's office is attacked by a shooter. Flashbacks reveal Renee's tragic origin. His wife was killed in front of their daughter. The shooter is an ordinary citizen who snapped and decided to use violence to force gun control. Vigilante makes a brief appearance to execute a mobster. The climax is a verbal confrontation. Oliver, as mayor, convinces the shooter to surrender using only his words. Inspired, Oliver works to create a new gun control law. Curtis offers to help Renee regain custody of his daughter. Oliver and Diggle try to approach Prometheus's mother, Mistress Claiborne, who rebuffs them. A mini-suicide squad, China White, Warner Cupid, breaks out of prison and goes after Tobias Church's money. Dinah is sworn in as a police officer. Susan Williams confronts Oliver.
Are you the Green Arrow?
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Thea asks Felicity to hack Susan. Felicity does, discovers a dossier on Oliver, and, as revenge, frames Susan for plagiarism, getting her fired. The team discovers the fugitives are after Church's $100 million. The Arrow and Quentin are attacked by the escapees. The anti-crime unit, on Prometheus's orders, announces that the Green Arrow is wanted for the murder of Detective Billy. Prometheus framed Oliver. In the end, the ACU helps the Arrow, but Chase reveals that the Billy leak could lead to the mayor's impeachment. Oliver becomes a target because of Billy. Chase offers to be his lawyer. Vigilante attacks Oliver, who is saved by Thea and Dinah. Thea, in the ends justify the means mode, uses Pandora for blackmail, securing the impeachment vote. Prometheus attacks Vigilante, and upon unmasking him, we discover he is Adrian Chase.
This is District Attorney Chase.
Diggle warns Felicity about the danger of sinking into the hacker world. Oliver confronts Thea about the blackmail. Oliver decides to blame the Green Arrow for Billy's murder, saving himself and avoiding impeachment, but the price is high. Thea resigns. Curtis asks for a divorce, and Felicity agrees to join the hacker group Helix. Chase corners Susan Williams. Oliver goes to the mountains and finds Talia al Ghul, who reveals she trained Adrian Chase because Oliver killed his father. Talia also reveals her last name, Al Ghul. Oliver confronts Chase, who admits to being Prometheus and reveals he has kidnapped Susan Williams to blackmail him. The team tries to find Susan. Felicity delves deeper into Helix. Oliver publicly supports Chase. He gives evidence against Chase to Captain Pike, who is stabbed and falls into a coma. Chase taunts Oliver, saying he wants to break him psychologically. Oliver, snapping, destroys the Arrow lair. Oliver rescues Susan, but Chase corners him. Oliver had an ace up his sleeve. Diggle appears with Chase's wife. In a brutal scene, Chase stabs and kills her in front of everyone. Oliver is captured by Talia. Chase appears at the police station playing the victim. The psychological torture is just beginning. Oliver is brutally tortured by Chase, who wants him to confess one secret. Flashbacks in Russia show Anatoly becoming the Pakhan and Oliver focused on stopping Kovar, who is allied with Malcolm and plans to use sarin gas. Anatoly warns Oliver that he is awakening a monster. The torture reaches its peak. Chase throws Evelyn into the cell and forces Oliver to kill her to survive. Oliver refuses. Chase pretends to snap her neck. The final straw, Oliver finally confesses.
I wanted to! And I liked it!
Evelyn is alive. It was all a setup. As a reward, Chase burns off Oliver's Bratva tattoo and releases him. Back at the cave, a completely broken Oliver tells the team, "I'm done." He's throwing in the towel. Oliver, broken by Chase's torture, disbands the team, convinced he only brings suffering to his friends. Desperate, he hires Anatoly and the Bratva to kill Chase. Teen Arrow is shocked by the alliance with the mob and intervenes, stopping the Bratva from stealing medicine. Diggle gives Oliver a reality check, reminding him to fight to earn the hood again. Oliver retakes takes leadership, still without the suit, to stop another Bratva heist. Felicity and Curtis hack into Cord Industries and get the proof, a clean video of Chase without his mask. The police move to arrest Chase, but he knocks out the guards and vanishes into thin air. With Chase on the run, Felicity makes a bold move. She joins Helix to free the legendary hacker Caden James, who can track anyone. Lila from Argus tries to stop her, but Felicity sides with Helix, forcing her own team to stand down to ensure James's escape. In return, Helix gives her the tracker. Felicity activates it and makes a horrifying discovery. Chase is inside the Arrow Cave itself, setting an ambush. Oliver and Felicity are trapped in the lair. Chase used an EMP to fry the circuits, including Felicity's implant, leaving her bound to the wheelchair again. Chase's goal is simple: leave them both to die. The rest of the team tries to get in. Inside, a wounded Oliver admits Felicity was right about trusting the team. Their escape plan fails and the cave begins to fill with methane gas. An exhausted Oliver passes out, but not before confessing his biggest secret to Felicity. He liked to kill. Curtis saves them just in time, seconds before the cave explodes. Oliver finds a skeleton encased in concrete in his office. The body belongs to a missing politician, and Thea discovers the truth. Their father, Robert Queen, killed him accidentally and hid the body. Her image of a heroic father shatters. Oliver and Diggle fall into a cement trap, but the team saves them. Chase has allied with Derek Sampson to create a bioweapon. Oliver, following Felicity's advice to build his own legacy instead of fixing his father's mistakes, suits up as the Green Arrow. He throws it in Prometheus's face that his own father wanted to disown him. This destabilizes him. Oliver chooses not to kill, knocking the villain out. The team celebrates Chase's capture, who smiles in his cell. The peace is an illusion. Chase, even from prison, activates his allies. Curtis, Thea, Quentin, Diggle, and Felicity are captured one by Black Siren, Evelyn, and Talia al Ghul. Desperate and alone, Oliver receives help from an unlikely ally, Malcolm, who wants to save Thea. Oliver confronts Chase in prison. The villain gives him an ultimatum: free him or all of Oliver's friends will die. The final card, a video showing he has also kidnapped William, Oliver's son. Oliver has no choice. He frees Chase. Before fleeing, Chase tells him he'll meet him on the boat. The final destination is the island of Lian Yu. Oliver knows he needs help. He summons Nyssa al Ghul and, in the season's biggest cliffhanger, goes to the secret Argus prison and meets with Slade Wilson, who says,
I'm glad you came back.
Oliver frees Slade Wilson, who swears the Mirakuru is gone and that he wants to find his son. Oliver assembles his allies, Slade, Captain Boomerang, Nyssa, and Malcolm, but the team is immediately attacked by an RPG and their plane explodes. Boomerang is revealed as a traitor working for Chase. Malcolm steps on a landmine. In an act of ultimate sacrifice to save Thea, he swaps places with her, tells her to run, and detonates the mine, taking Boomerang and several henchmen with him.
What kind of ass backwards strategy is that?
Let me show you.
Oliver allows Slade to betray him to be taken to the prisoners. He gives Dinah a device, which she uses to shatter everyone's chains with her sonic cry. A massive brawl ensues. Nyssa versus Talia, Dinah versus Black Siren. Oliver corners Chase, who reveals his final plan. William is with him on a boat, and the entire island is rigged with explosives linked to a dead man's switch. The choice is sadistic: kill Chase and save his son, or let him live and watch all his friends explode. Oliver shoots Chase in the leg, but the villain laughs, knowing he's won. He kills himself with a shot to the head, and the entire island of Lian Yu explodes. Oliver watches in shock. The season ends without us knowing who survived the blast. 5 months after the explosion, Oliver and Felicity's peace is shattered by terror. William blames his father for everything. Black Siren resurfaces, blows up a police station, and moves Quentin Lance. Diggle misses a shot and injures Renee, revealing an aiming problem. The team learns what really happened on Lian Yu. William's mother, Samantha, died in Oliver's arms after he promised to care for the boy. Thea is in a coma. Black Siren was rescued by a helicopter. Oliver and Slade Wilson make peace, and Slade leaves to find his son. Oliver begins to connect with William, but the tranquility is short-lived. A photo of him in the Green Arrow suit is leaked to the media. Oliver is confronted by the FBI and denies the photo, even name-dropping Bruce Wayne. His double life is crumbling. William is bullied at school, and Oliver misses an important meeting with the FBI. Anatoly returns as a villain villain and takes hostages, demanding a ransom. Tension rises within the team. Dinah notices Diggle's hesitation when shooting. He confesses he was hit by shrapnel on Li and Yu, causing nerve damage and affecting his aim. Oliver lets Anatoly escape. He decides to cooperate with the FBI on the condition that William is kept out of it. To protect William and his new life, Oliver makes a radical decision. He retires as the Green Arrow and passes the mantle to Diggle. Diggle becomes the new Green Arrow, but his hand trembles. He hides the truth from the team. Oliver becomes a full-time dad and deals with the FBI. The villain Onyx, a former military operative, attacks Cord Industries. During the confrontation, Diggle freezes, allowing Onyx to escape. Renee confronts Oliver, asking him to come back, but Oliver gives a motivational speech to Diggle. Felicity and Oliver grow close again. The team discovers Onyx is hunting her old squad. In the fight, Diggle finally steps up as a leader and defeats Onyx. Curtis and Felicity give Diggle a new crossbow that stabilizes his aim, but the secret is darker. We see Diggle buying a mysterious drug in an alley to control his tremors. Black Siren remains active. Oliver and Felicity try to have their first romantic date, which is interrupted by Alina from Helix, who says Caden James has gone insane and is planning an apocalyptic attack. Felicity decides to help her. Oliver, in disguise, tries to help, but Felicity is furious that he blew her cover. Caden James, allied with Black Siren, corners Felicity and Alina. James's plan is to destroy the vault that controls the entire world's internet. From the base, Oliver becomes Felicity's Overwatch, guiding her to the processor. She stops the virus, but James reveals he only wanted her to disable the firewall so he could install a secret code. An alarm goes off. Slade Wilson needs help. Vigilante attacks a councilwoman. Slade Wilson shows up at Oliver's home, asking the mayor for help finding his son Joe, who is imprisoned in Kaznia. Vigilante confronts Dinah and unmasks himself. He is Vincent Sobel, her former partner and lover, whom she saw die. Oliver and Slade travel to Kaznia. Joe has been kidnapped by a gang called the Jackals. Slade suits up as Deathstroke, drugs Oliver, and goes off on the rescue mission alone. Slade invades the Jackals base. In a major gut punch, the leader of the Jackals is revealed. It's Joe himself. He was never a prisoner. He's the head of the operation. In Kaznia, Slade plays along with Joe to secretly communicate with Oliver. Joe plans to steal weapons and kill soldiers in the process. Back in Star City, Diggle is struggling with a hand tremor and buys more drugs from Ricardo Diaz. Joe and his gang capture Oliver. To maintain his cover, Slade lands a heavy punch on Oliver. Later, he cuts his friend's bonds, and the two escape together as Joe vows to kill his father. In the final battle, Joe reveals that Slade has another son, Grant. Oliver saves Slade from being stabbed by Joe. Slade decides to stay in Kaznia to search for both of his sons. In Star City, Diggle finally confesses to the team about the tremor and his use of drugs to control his aim. Oliver is trying to readjust to fatherhood and faces one of the team's greatest crises of trust and dismantlement. The new villain, Caden James, proves to be a criminal mastermind who uses psychological terror and technology to break Oliver and the city. Oliver is publicly arrested by FBI Special Agent Samantha Watson, who knows his identity. Caden James and Black Siren steal nanothermite. Diggle injects a prototype to cure his tremors, but the cure goes wrong, and he collapses mid-fight. At the hospital, he reveals to Oliver that he has permanent nerve damage and could become paralyzed. The two make peace.
Put us into this alternate Star City.
Yeah, kind of difficult to forget.
We got to see what our perfect life would be.
Caden James builds a bomb, but the target, a Billy Joel concert, is a feint. He just wanted a face-to-face confrontation to get revenge, as he blames Oliver for his son's death. Videos of the team assaulting fake police officers go viral, and the city passes an anti-vigilante law. In the midst of the chaos, Thea finally awakens from her coma. Back in the present, the prosecution has a key witness who will testify that Oliver is the Green Arrow. Black Siren kidnaps Lance. Caden James demands an Argus artifact in exchange for the police captain's life. Tension explodes at the base. Renee can't handle the pressure and confesses. He is the witness. He was blackmailed by the FBI, who threatened to take his daughter from him. Oliver kicks him off the team. Dinah and Curtis, disgusted by Oliver's lack of trust, quit. The original Team Arrow disintegrates. Caden James assembles his cabal of villains with Vigilante and Ricardo Diaz, proving his plan was to destroy the team from within. Caden James and his gang, Black Siren Diaz, expand their criminal empire. Team B, Renee, Curtis, Diaz, Dinah, tries to manage on their own. Dinah discovers that her ex-boyfriend Vincent is vigilante and is working for Kayden. Felicity tries to reunite the teams, but Team B refuses. Oliver allies with the mobster Bertinelli. The mission fails, and Diaz executes the mobster in cold blood. Oliver makes one last appeal, apologizing for his mistrust. It's too late. Team B rejects the offer and sets up their own base. Kayden James hacks Star City, causing chaos and traffic in hospitals. He demands $10 million a day. He accuses Oliver of killing his son with a stray arrow a year ago. Oliver has a rock-solid alibi and realizes he's been framed. William's bus gets trapped in a tunnel. The Green Arrow saves him, and William sees his father in action. Oliver connects with William and decides to pay the ransom to buy time. Curtis's team gets a tip from Vigilante, who claims to be a double agent, and they begin to trust him. Oliver transfers $70 million to Kayden James. Vincent infiltrates to plant a device to disable Kayden's weapons, with Felicity feeding him instructions. Kayden catches Vincent in the act, discovers he is a metahuman with regenerative powers, and hands him over to be tortured. Black Siren attacks Vincent and kills him with her point-blank sonic scream. Dinah is devastated and swears revenge. Felicity discovers the video incriminating Oliver for the death of Kayden's son was doctored. Kayden James threatens to detonate a thermobaric bomb at midnight. The video that incriminated Oliver was fake. Kayden demands that Oliver hand over his partners, Anatoly, Diaz, and Laurel. The two Team Arrow factions work together. Dinah tries to settle the score with Black Siren, but Lance intervenes. The three villains are handed over, but the plan is a trick. Black Siren, with her power-dampening collar disabled, escapes. Lance intercepts and shoots her. Oliver stops Kayden, who is arrested, but the peace is short-lived. Ricardo Diaz visits Kayden in jail, reveals he was the mastermind behind everything, that he bought the new police chief, and that Star City now belongs to him. Diaz stabs Kayden to death. The true villain reveals himself. The $70 million paid to Kayden has vanished. Black Siren is the prime suspect. Lance hides Laurel in a cabin to tend to her wound. Thea follows Lance and discovers the hideout. Laurel promises to return the money in exchange for help escaping. The new Team Arrow doesn't trust her and plants listening devices. Curtis hacks Diggle's bionic implant, using it as a GPS to track Oliver, which causes excruciating pain in his friend's arm. The two teams fight at the cabin. Dinah tries to kill Laurel, but Curtis stops her. Laurel takes advantage of the chaos and disappears. The fight destroys any chance of reconciliation, and Renee is gravely injured. Laurel reappears, pretending to have been kidnapped. Black Siren poses as the original Laurel Lance, claiming she was kidnapped by Dark. She blackmails the team. Either they play along with the charade, or she reveals that Oliver is the Green Arrow. The team agrees. The prosecutor reveals a new ace up his sleeve. Roy Harper will testify against Oliver. The fake Laurel is taken to Ricardo Diaz, revealing she's working with him. Oliver and Thea discover that Roy is being tortured by cops on Diaz's payroll. Thea frees Roy. The fake Laurel reveals one of Diaz's hideouts, but it's a trap. Oliver and Thea rescue Roy. The Laurel has been taking orders from Diaz all along. A member of the League of Assassins appears, spying on Thea and Roy. The League's new faction, the Thanatos Guild, is searching for Malcolm's successor. Nyssa appears to protect Thea, who possesses a secret map left by her father. The search leads to a vault, but the map is blank.
The map is meaningless without spilling your blood.
The guild's leader reveals the ink only appears with blood. Thea accidentally activates the map with her own blood. Discovering it leads to 3 brand new Lazarus pits. To stop the guild from pursuing her, Thea decides to go with Nyssa to destroy the pits. Roy joins them. Nyssa annuls her marriage to Oliver, and the 3 depart on their own mission. Dinah assembles her squad of honest cops and, with help from Oliver and Diggle, captures Anatoly, who is released on Diaz's orders. The tension between Oliver and Diggle escalates. Diggle wants the hood back, but Oliver refuses to give it up. Diggle accuses Oliver of being a terrible leader. The argument turns into a full-blown fistfight. Afterward, Diggle apologizes but tells him the truth. He's leaving the team because he considers Oliver a poor leader. Captain Hill fires Dinah and all the honest cops. Oliver now faces an obstruction of justice charge. Oliver, dosed with vertigo and hallucinating, storms the police station to go after Diaz. In flashbacks, hours earlier, Oliver is confronted with his imminent impeachment. He and Felicity have a huge fight and she decides they need a break. Oliver hallucinates. The ghost of Adrian Chase, Prometheus, haunts him, telling him he is the cause of all his problems. The hallucinations of Chase convince him to solve everything alone, resulting in the invasion of the police station. Felicity reaches him, convinces him she's real, and helps him escape. Oliver takes the antidote and decides to go back to basics, without a team. The news announces his impeachment, and Lance has become the new mayor. Diaz, in his new office, tells Black Siren that he doesn't want to kill Oliver, but to destroy destroy him piece by piece. The walls are closing in. We witness the defeat of Oliver Queen as both mayor and vigilante, orchestrated by the master manipulator Ricardo Diaz. The Green Arrow not only loses his team and control of Star City, but is forced to confess his identity in exchange for his friend's freedom. In a flashback, we see Ricardo Diaz's dark origin. In the present, Diaz and Black Siren attempt to join the Quadrant, a powerful criminal organization. Diaz passes the kidnapping test but is betrayed by the boss, Cartier. Diaz and Black Siren use a bomb strapped to Cartier to eliminate security and crash the Quadrant's meeting. Diaz shoots Cartier's father in the head, forcing the other leaders to accept him. Diaz is now one of the bosses. Oliver and Felicity reconcile. Diaz's revenge ends grimly. He burns his childhood bully alive. Oliver, acting as a lone wolf, cedes territory to the Bratva in exchange for a favor, showcasing his new mindset. Anatoly betrays and ties him up, saying Diaz will make him rich. The NTA and Argus join forces against Diaz. Diaz tries to blackmail Lance, but Black Siren confesses that Diaz is a monster. Diaz challenges Oliver to a fight. The loser leaves town. Just as Oliver is about to win, Diaz stabs him with a hidden knife. Diaz uses his corrupt contacts to revoke Oliver's bail and ensure he goes to trial. Anatoly, disgusted, decides to help Oliver escape. Oliver's trial begins. Black Siren threatens to testify and reveal the truth about the Arrow's identity. Renee, coerced by Diaz, who threatens his daughter Zoe, confesses in court that Oliver is the Green Arrow. Desperate, Oliver confesses to his lawyer. Chaos erupts when the Green Arrow crashes the courtroom. It's the human target disguised as Tommy. The human target, posing as the judge, declares a mistrial. Diaz, furious, executes the real judge. Black Siren attacks Diaz with her scream, and he vows to kill them all. Diaz hunts the team in simultaneous attacks. The Arrow Cave is destroyed and set on fire. The team regroups at Felicity's Helix bunker. Anatoly acts as a double agent and helps Oliver set a trap, but corrupt police show up. Diaz stabs Curtis. Lila and Oliver raid the police station to steal Diaz's files. Diaz tracks Felicity to the Helix bunker. Oliver and Felicity manage to escape seconds before it's flooded with nerve gas. Out of options, Oliver makes a deal. He will turn himself in and confess to being the Green Arrow in exchange for immunity for the entire team. Oliver and the Agent Watson raid the corrupt police precinct. Diaz blackmails Quentin. Either get rid of the FBI or Laurel dies. Oliver stops Quentin from acting alone and they devise a trap. Oliver reconciles with Renee, Dinah, and Curtis. Quentin is captured. Felicity and Curtis track his pacemaker. In the fight, Quentin jumps in front of a bullet to save Laurel. Dinah and Laurel use their sonic screams together to get him to the hospital. Oliver corners Diaz on a rooftop. Laurel appears and uses her scream to throw Diaz off the building and into the river. Oliver exposes Diaz's entire corruption network with the copied data. At the hospital, Quentin doesn't make it and dies. Oliver surrenders to the FBI. He reveals to the world that he is the Green Arrow and is taken to Slabside Maximum Security Prison. Oliver is incarcerated at Slabside, surrounded by old enemies: Derek, Ben, Danny. He tries to keep a low profile but is forced to fight and manages to plant a weapon on Turner. A new Green Arrow appears in Star City, a mystery to everyone. Diggle visits Oliver and assures him that Felicity and William are safe in the Witness Protection Program. Oliver learns that Diaz is still at large. Felicity and William are in protective custody, but Diaz finds them. They escape. Felicity visits Oliver in prison, who insists she go back into protection. Oliver, done playing nice, beats Danny to a pulp and is threatened by an inmate connected to Diaz. The final scene flashes forward 20 years, where an adult William finds Roy Harper on Lian Yu. Oliver is released from solitary after 2 days in The Hole. Meanwhile, in Star City, Team Arrow regroups. Felicity, in full hacker mode, says she has a new way to track Diaz and his new friends, the Longbow Hunters. Speaking of whom, they've already made their move, stealing a superpowered battery from Argus. Diggle, under pressure from his superiors, blocks Felicity and Curtis from helping with the case. Elsewhere in the city, Dinah essentially becomes a bodyguard for Laurel, who refuses to enter witness protection even with new villains on the loose. In prison, Oliver tries to get information on Diaz from Brick. The condition? Oliver has to take care of a guard. But upon investigation, Oliver discovers the guard, York, is a clean cop. Nevertheless, Turner gives him a shiv and tells him to finish the job. Felicity and Curtis don't sit still. They hack Argus, find the supposed Longbow Hunters HQ, and run right into an Argus raid. That's when Diggle drops the bomb. The battery is a weapon that could destroy the entire city. The action heats up when Argus intercepts a train believed to be carrying carrying the weapon. At the same time, Dinah and Laurel raid a building where Diaz might be hiding. All hell breaks loose in 2 places at once. Diggle fights a hunter on the train, and Laurel fights another in the building. Diggle finally corners Diaz, but to secure the weapon, he tells Felicity to detach the train car, allowing Diaz and the hunters to escape. Felicity is furious with the decision and quits Argus. In prison, Oliver makes a master play. To protect York from the inmates, he stabs himself, creating a diversion that gets the guard out of harm's way. To top it off, Felicity shows up at the FBI's door, asking Agent Watson for help. And in the future, William and Roy unearth Oliver's bow, determined to return to Star City. We see a battered Oliver holding a bloody shiv, with guards down on the floor. What exactly happened here? We don't know yet. Felicity tries once again to convince Agent Watson to hunt Diaz, but she's shot down. Undeterred, she and Renee concoct a crazy plan, break into the CDC, suspecting Diaz is after a deadly virus like Ebola. Meanwhile, in Zurich, Diggle, Lila, and Curtis are on an espionage mission, posing as wealthy socialites to hack a Swiss bank. But things get complicated when Diggle discovers Lila copied the data for her own secret investigation within Argus. In prison, Brick sets a trap for Oliver. Instead of the promised meeting with a Diaz contact, Oliver and Stanley are ambushed by Turner. They manage to fight their way out, but the trust is gone. Back at the CDC, Agent Watson finally agrees to help Felicity. They spot Diaz and 2 longbow hunters on site, and the fight is on. The silencer goes after Dinah, while Watson and Renee take on Diaz. In the ensuing chaos, all the villains manage to escape. Oliver's prison life gets even darker. He is forced into a clandestine fight club against Samson in a battle to the death. To survive, Oliver is forced to break his arm. Bloodthirsty, he corners Brick, who finally reveals what he wants. Diaz's contact, a man known as the Demon, is on level 2, the prison's most dangerous area. To get there, Oliver makes a drastic decision. He attacks 2 guards to get himself transferred. In the end, Agent Watson is demoted for the failed operation, but admits Felicity was right. And for a final surprise, Renee reveals he managed to capture the silencer and is holding her in a secret location. The tables have turned, or have things just gotten more complicated? Oliver is in his new cell on level 2, which is basically the VIP section of hell. Right away, he's visited by Jay Parker, a psychiatrist hired to analyze him. Oliver keeps it real. He just wants to get to Ricardo Diaz to protect his family. Meanwhile, in Star City, Felicity is trying to get information out of the silencer. She's 1 step away from going full Jack Bauer and torturing the prisoner, but Renee shows up and calms her down. Later, Dinah is at a community meeting, and people are furious about the crime rate. Some even mention that life was easier when the vigilantes were active. Suddenly, a fire breaks out in the back. Everyone escapes, and Renee's daughter Zoe is saved by the new Green Arrow. At the hospital, Curtis gives her a Bebo doll as a gift. Back in prison, Oliver, having gone without food or water for some time, starts hallucinating his father. Outside, Felicity and Laurel team up to make the silencer talk. Their plan is genius. They stage a fight, accidentally drop a screwdriver, and leave. The silencer uses the tool to escape, but little does she know, Felicity planted a tracker on her. It's a spy movie-worthy plan that will lead them straight to Diaz. In the flash-forwards, things get crazy. William and Roy find an older Dinah and an adult Zoe, who is now a vigilante. They are part of a resistance movement called the Canary Network, and to top it all off, Dinah reveals that Felicity is dead. Oliver is woken up in his cell and given a new accessory, a shock bracelet. He's then moved to a general population cell outside of Solitary. At Argus, Diggle and Curtis are on a mission to stop a man named Malcolm Bird from buying some very dangerous chemicals. In the prison mess hall, Oliver runs into the psycho who was paid to attack him, and a fight nearly breaks out again. But the guards arrive and use the shock bracelet to subdue them. Later, Oliver gets a surprise visitor in his cell, Talia al Ghul. Yes, she survived the explosion on Lian Yu, because apparently, no one really dies on this show. She wants his help escaping level 2, but Oliver refuses. Felicity tries to visit him but is turned away. She learns from Stanley that Oliver has been moved to a secret and highly illegal wing of the prison. Felicity and Laurel, now a detective duo, discover that level 2 is a clandestine psychological torture program run by Dr. Parker, who erases prisoners' memories. Upon learning this, Oliver changes his mind and agrees to help Talia escape, on the condition that she helps him expose the doctor's sick experiments. They stage a fake fight, are taken to the experiment room, and all hell breaks loose. They manage to get rid of the guards and the bracelets just as a riot erupts in the prison. Oliver gives Talia a flash drive with all the evidence against Parker and tells her to run, because he doesn't want to be a fugitive. As a result, Level 2 is shut down, and Oliver is returned to his regular cell, where Stanley informs him that Felicity is close to catching Diaz. Speaking of whom, the Silencer finally finds him in Moscow, strangling Anatoly. His endgame? To ruin Oliver Queen. In prison, Laurel visits Oliver and is shocked by his injuries. She wants to use this to file an appeal, but Oliver is in a rough mood and tells her to stay away. Meanwhile, Felicity, Laurel, and Renee find Anatoly trapped in a box with a bomb. Argus arrives and everyone barely escapes. At Argus, Diggle is pissed at Felicity for interfering with the operation and lays down the law: no working with Renee or the Laurel from another Earth. In prison, Stanley is accused of murder, but Oliver knows it's a setup by Brick and confronts him, only to be threatened himself. Oliver decides to play detective, finds the murder weapon, and manages to frame Ben Turner, the Bronze Tiger. Oliver's appeal is denied, and Laurel nearly attacks the judge. The team discovers that Diaz plans to blow up a gas refinery. In the final confrontation, Diggle faces off against Diaz, while Dinah and Renee hold off the longbow hunters. Just as Diaz is about to detonate everything, the new Green Arrow appears and shoots his cell phone, saving the day. Diaz is finally arrested. Felicity goes to Diaz's cell, ready to kill him, but Laurel stops her. She made a deal. Diaz goes into federal custody, and in exchange, Oliver will be released. With Stanley back in his cell, Oliver confesses that he was the one who framed Turner. In the flash forwards, we see that before she died, Felicity became a criminal and had plans to destroy Star City. Oliver wakes up in his cell to the news of the day. He's graduating from prison, set to be released. It looks like his luck is finally turning, but guess who decides to crash the party? Diaz strolls into the prison like a VIP, and his police escort, who are actually on his payroll, immediately start shooting the guards. Meanwhile, Stanley, Oliver's #1 fan, asks for a little help with his case, but Oliver is pissed because he found out Stanley framed Turner for the death of an officer. Full of regret, Oliver goes to solitary, apologizes to Turner, and promises to talk to Lila and Argus about a transfer. As for Diaz, the villain shows up in disguise in the visitation room and lays it out. He's going to kill Oliver's family before finishing him off. Oliver snaps, tries to break the glass, but is tased into submission. Back in his cell, Oliver goes full prison MacGyver. He uses deodorant and a battery to create a makeshift bomb and blows the door open. The entire prison goes into lockdown. Outside, it's total chaos. Diaz gives an inflammatory speech to the inmates, who start a full-scale riot under his command. Oliver tries to find Diaz, but runs into Brick and Samson. The fight begins, and just as Oliver gets pepper sprayed in the face, Turner appears out of nowhere to save the day. But things get personal when Stanley finds Oliver alone and injects him with a syringe. He ties Oliver up and has a psychotic breakdown, complaining about being abandoned. Oliver manages to break free and knocks the psycho out. The duo storms the mess hall. Diaz sets off a bomb and the prison turns into a war zone. Oliver finally finds Diaz, and the beatdown begins. After an insane fight, Oliver gets the upper hand and locks Diaz in his old cell, as if to say, "Welcome to your new home." In the end, Turner is recognized as a hero, and Oliver finally walks out of prison, greeted by Felicity and Diggle. With his newfound freedom, he tries to readjust to normal life. But normal isn't in his vocabulary. Right off the bat, a murder occurs at a party in his honor, and who gets the blame? The new Green Arrow. Oliver, Dinah, and Renee team up to prove the new vigilante's innocence, forming a task force to save their successor's reputation. Meanwhile, his life with Felicity isn't easy. Prison changed Oliver, and the couple is dealing with the fallout. Like that "we need to talk" conversation that lasts for weeks. To get around the anti-vigilante law, Dinah pulls some strings and makes Oliver a special agent for the SCPD. The mayor isn't happy about it, but who cares? At the same time, Diggle and Lila are in full spy movie mode, connecting a mysterious painting to a man who finances terrorist cells, including the longbow hunters and Diaz himself. And to get answers, they decide to visit Diaz in prison. Yes, they're going to ask the villain for help. The new Green Arrow's identity is revealed, and it's none other than Robert Queen's daughter, which means the new vigilante is his half-sister. In the flash forwards, we see Dinah, William, and Zoe hunting a woman named Blackstar, who is connected to Felicity's plans. Dinah also reveals that the Mark of 4 was a secret signal from Oliver to reunite the team if needed.
It's called the Mark of 4. Your dad came up with it. We all got them, as a reminder that no matter what happened, if one of us was in trouble,
We meet Emiko Queen, who's hunting a fugitive. She's about to put an arrow in the guy when the scene cuts to a montage of her taking down various criminals and crossing names off a list, Punisher style. Later, she's at a bar trying to squeeze information out of a mercenary about someone named William Glenn Morgan. The investigation continues, and she breaks into the server room of a massive corporation, only to be ambushed by guards and shot. Riddled with bullets, she goes to the only person she can find for help, Renee, who was just taking out the trash. Meanwhile, Dinah is trying to convince Oliver to become the Green Arrow again, but he's more focused on fixing his marriage with Felicity. Still, Dinah hands Felicity a DNA sample from the new Green Arrow for analysis. The results come in, and boom! Oliver has a sister he never knew existed. Elsewhere, Lila is interrogating Ricardo Diaz, who's locked up in a secret Argus Black site with no rights. Diggle enters the room and offers the villain a deal. If Diaz gives up a man named Dante, he walks free. Lila later reveals the plan. They want Diaz to be part of a new version of the Suicide Squad. Oliver and Felicity go through old boxes, and he gets pissed when he finds out his father simply abandoned Emiko. Emiko, in turn, tells Renee she's hunting her mother's killer. Renee agrees to help and calls Curtis to round out the team. The three of them raid Glenn Morgan's hideout, and Emiko finally corners the guy. He swears he didn't kill her mother and that it was all a setup. In the end, Diaz accepts the deal and gets a bomb planted in his neck as a gift from Argus. Felicity encourages Oliver to find his sister, and he finally does, at their mother's grave. In the flash forwards, Renee has become the mayor of a swanky, high-tech version of the Glades, and Dinah shows up to call in a favor, revealing that his plans for the city will sacrifice everything else. Oliver is on a talk show, discussing his life as a vigilante, while we see flashbacks of him trying to connect with Emiko at the cemetery. Naturally, she shuts him down. Over at Argus, Lila is assembling the new Suicide Squad 2.0. Curtis arrives just in time, gets pissed about the idea, and even more so when he learns Diaz will be on the team. He refuses to help, but Diggle basically forces him to install the security bombs in the villains. Laurel is having wine with Felicity when she spots a guy who looks like he walks straight out of Earth 2. She freaks out, thinking he's a ghost from her past. Later, the talk show host is kidnapped, and a video of him calling Oliver a liar goes viral. Oliver figures out right away that the kidnapper is Samuel, the son of the man his father killed on the lifeboat back in season 1. Meanwhile, all hell breaks loose at Argus. Curtis accidentally gives Diaz super strength, who then frees the other villains and tries to escape. After a tense fight, Diaz breaks Curtis's neck and gets away. Except, not really. It was all a simulation created by Curtis to hack Diaz's mind and dig up information on Dante, a true master of illusion. Laurel, still paranoid about the guy from Earth 2, tracks him down and attacks him. She only stops when Felicity shows up and reveals the man isn't an interdimensional killer, but just some random drunk. Laurel then confesses, on Earth 2, he was the one who caused the accident that killed her father. Samuel attacks the police station, turning officers into human bombs. He gives the hostages a choice: kill Oliver or they all blow up. Before tragedy strikes, Dinah manages to disable the power source and saves the day. The next day, Oliver returns to the talk show and tells the truth about what his father did. We see Dinah finding a threatening note in her car, identical to the ones Laurel had been receiving. We're now watching a documentary about the Green Arrow and his crew, packed with special guest appearances from old characters like Quentin, Thea, Sarah, and even Barry Allen. We follow the team through the lens of a film crew. The main conflict kicks off when they discover Emiko has been kidnapped by a new vigilante, whom Curtis nicknames Chimera. This guy not only kidnaps vigilantes, but also collects souvenirs from them as trophies. In full-on hero serial killer style, Oliver convinces Diggle to release Argus resources, and they track Chimera to a warehouse. Mayor Pollard, who hates vigilantes, organizes a public debate to promote her anti-vigilante law, with Oliver as the main opposition. And, as expected, Chimera shows up to crash the party. A massive fight breaks out, and Team Arrow manages to neutralize the vigilante hunter. Right after their victory, the mayor arrives with the police to arrest everyone for acting outside the law. But in a twist worthy of a movie, she changes her mind. Instead of arresting them, she offers each member of Team Arrow a job with the SCPD so they can work within the law. With that, Oliver and Dinah are basically unfired. To complete the family drama, William returns home, but he's not back for a visit. He was expelled from boarding school after a falling out with Felicity. An optimistic Oliver tells the film crew he's going to rebuild the old Team Arrow hideout, jumping to the future, where Connor and Blackstar find the ruins of the Team Arrow bunker, guided by the last existing copy of the very documentary we just watched. Someone is sending threatening little notes to Team Arrow, and it's no secret admirer. Dinah, Diggle, and Renee Renee all receive the same sinister notes, which puts everyone on edge. The investigation begins, and they discover that a former associate of Ricardo Diaz was executed. And guess what? An identical note was left at the crime scene. Curtis, our tech genius, analyzes the note and finds that the assailant uses a rare drug to paralyze victims. He traces the only shipment of the drug to a rundown house in the Glades. The team goes there and finds evidence that the guy was once an inmate at Slabside. In the basement, Dinah finds the typewriter used for the notes and murder souvenirs. While she's snooping around, she's attacked from behind and gets her throat slit. The culprit? None other than Stanley Dover, Oliver's old cellmate. Luckily, Curtis arrives just in time to save her life. But the horror show isn't over. Stanley goes to the Queen's apartment and fills the place with the paralytic gas, turning Oliver, Felicity, and William into statues during dinner. Completely unhinged, he confesses to being the city's serial killer. When Stanley gets distracted, Oliver manages to move just enough to smash a bottle over his head. In the 2040 flash forwards, the future crew, William, Roy, Dinah, and Zoe, is hunting someone named Black Star. They break into the old Team Arrow hideout and are knocked out by tranquilizer darts. When they wake up, Black Star reveals that Felicity isn't dead and demands the codes for her plan. A fight breaks out, and in the middle of the chaos, Black Star reveals that she is Mia Smoke, daughter of Oliver and Felicity. Oliver is super bummed out because William won't answer his calls. Meanwhile, Diggle decides to reactivate the Ghost Initiative to hunt down a guy named Dante, and the most controversial member of this team, Ricardo Diaz. Obviously, Felicity gets pissed at Diggle's decision. She wasn't going to let it slide and already had a plan B with Laurel: hack Argus and detonate the bomb in Diaz's head. It's during this conversation that Felicity drops the news to Laurel. She's pregnant. Meanwhile, Oliver and Renee try to help Emiko find her mother's killer. They find an arms dealer, but Oliver arrests him instead of letting Emiko get her revenge, which really angers his sister. The generic Suicide Squad's first mission is a disaster. They try to set a trap for one of Dante's contacts, but the plan falls apart and the guy escapes. To make matters worse, Lila warns that if they don't catch Dante, she's out of a job. In a last-ditch effort, Diggle calls Oliver and Felicity to help the team work with Diaz. They set an ambush for Dante, but when the time comes, Diaz does what he does best: betrays everyone, warns his boss, and allows him to get away. In 2040, the gang finally learns that Felicity faked her own death. Mia, proving the family's high IQ, solves a Rubik's Cube of Williams that was hiding a mysterious cassette tape. Felicity tells Oliver about the pregnancy, and somewhere else, someone douses Diaz in gasoline and lights a match. Game over for him. A new gang is testing drugs on random people with fatal results. Team Arrow is now an official division of the SCPD, but the mayor doesn't want anyone in vigilante uniforms, so they get a weird SWAT-style getup. Their first mission in the new look goes wrong, and Oliver and Dinah get into a shouting match about how to handle the situation, resulting in the villain's escape. Back at the precinct, Oliver, being Oliver, ignores orders, puts on the Green Arrow hood, and goes after the gang's leader, a pharmaceutical CEO named James Midas. He gets a confession, but since he acted illegally, the mayor orders the guy's release. This causes a huge fight between Oliver and Dinah. The team regroups at the old hideout, now renovated. Oliver and Dinah make peace, and Felicity saves the day by finding a legal way to track Midas using his DNA. With the team united, they raid a warehouse, defeat the henchmen, and gather enough evidence to put Midas away for good. After that, Team Arrow officially becomes a special unit that can operate outside of standard police protocol. Meanwhile, Bronze Tiger calls Laurel at the prison and drops the bombshell. He knows who killed Diaz. After some drama to see his son, he reveals it was the new Green Arrow. Laurel confronts Emiko, who not only confirms it, but throws it in Laurel's face that she knows she's not from this universe. In the flash forwards, William and Mia steal a tape player to listen to Felicity's message. She tells them to leave the city, but they ignore her and follow coordinates to the Glades. Felicity appears holding baby Mia, and then we get one of those movie montages, you know? With Mia growing up and being trained in combat by Nissa Al Ghul. One day, while playing, Mia accidentally discovers a secret room in the house, filled with Felicity's high-tech computers and files. She confronts her mother and learns that Felicity is back in the game, investigating a corrupt corporation. Pissed that her mom has returned to vigilantism, Mia freaks out and runs away to Star City. We jump forward in time and see Mia and William trying to sneak into the Glades. They discover Felicity's last known location was at the Galaxy One headquarters. There, they're nearly caught but are saved at the last minute by Connor, who's working under undercover, William and Mia manage to get a meeting with the CEO of Galaxy One. While William stalls the guy, Mia manages to steal a DNA sample to forge access to restricted areas. They break into a maximum security cell and inside discover that Felicity is alive. But Felicity isn't happy.
Mom, I told you not to come.
In fact, she's pretty annoyed by their presence, revealing that the Tate they followed wasn't meant to lead them to her, but to an arsenal of bombs in the building. Felicity and William team up with Dinah, Roy, and Zoe to find the explosives. The group manages to get to the bomb room, but it's empty. Then Renee shows up and confirms the conspiracy theory. The company is indeed going to bomb Star City that night. The team rushes to the city's fireworks festival and, after a fight, manages to find and disarm the bombs. Laurel drops the bombshell on Oliver. Emiko is the one who killed Diaz. Oliver finds Emiko and a man named Dante stealing drones and confronts her. She says she owes a debt to Dante and the Ninth Circle for helping her when their father abandoned her. Using the Archer program, Team Arrow locates Dante. Then comes the theatrics. Dante pretends Emiko betrayed him, and Oliver, good-hearted as ever, saves his sister and takes her to the bunker. But it was all a setup. She's caught planting a signal jammer but manages to escape. This takes Archer offline and gives the Ninth Circle an opening to steal sarin gas. The team tracks the drones to an airport, where Oliver manages to disable almost all of them, but one escapes thanks to Emiko and releases the gas in an abandoned building. Emiko is, in fact, the leader of the Ninth Circle, and she was the one who told Dante about Archer. To make matters worse, she frames Laurel for the murder of a witness and leaks photos of her with Diaz to the press. Meanwhile, Felicity launches Smoke Technologies. In flashbacks, we see Emiko's painful past, being abandoned by her father and meeting Dante. As an adult, she asks her father for help with her business, but gets shut down. That's why she kept quiet about the bombs on the Queen's Gambit, which led to his death.
Gambit sent a Mayday transmission late last night and has knocked Darling City billionaire Robert Queen and his son Oliver.
Felicity is trying to get in touch with Laurel, who has become the most wanted person in the city after her criminal past was leaked. There's even an arrest warrant out for her, and Dinah, as police captain, isn't willing to go easy. Meanwhile, Laurel seems to have gone back to the dark side, teaming up with a villain named Shadow Thief to plan a heist. Felicity even discovers that Emiko framed Laurel, but it's too late. The duo has already pulled off their first job and made off with $100,000. During the second robbery, a heist for $10 million in diamonds, Dinah shows up to stop them. And who appears to help? Sarah Lance herself.
But I still have mine.
A fight breaks out, but the criminals manage to escape. Using the computers at the scene, Dinah tracks them to a warehouse. When she and Felicity get there, they find a bomb Laurel set to explode, and the two barely escape. Sarah manages to find Laurel at their father's grave, but can't convince her to give up. During the next heist, Laurel realizes her partner wants to steal a weapon to kill a lot of people in Star City. Laurel was undercover the whole time. She joins forces with Felicity, Sarah, and Dinah in the fight, but Shadow Thief gets away. In the end, Laurel announces she's going back to Earth too, and says goodbye to everyone. In the flash forwards, Galaxy One unleashes a new threat, the Zetas, a task force hunting the Canary network with technology based on Archer. Mia, impulsive as ever, tries to fight them alone and nearly gets herself killed, but is saved by Laurel. Laurel tells her to give the Zeta's helmet to Felicity. Oliver and Diggle have a Ninth Circle tablet in their hands. They try to get information from Argus, but General Stewart, who happens to be Diggle's stepfather, denies them entry. That awkward family dinner vibe. Meanwhile, Felicity and Alina are attacked by Ninth Circle thugs who end up stealing a piece of the Archer technology they were working on. After that ordeal, General Stewart changes his mind and decides to help Team Arrow, giving them a lead. But of course, it's a trap set by the Ninth Circle. Stewart and Diggle are captured and knocked out. Shortly after, John and Roy manage to escape their cell and send an SOS with their location to Oliver. After the rescue, the team regroups at the hideout and figures out the plan. The Ninth Circle wants to use Archer to find a biochemical weapon that Stewart himself was overseeing. Using the magic of hacking, Oliver finds the Ninth Circle and, along with them, his half-sister Emiko. There, he lays down the truth for her. Dante lied the whole time and was the one who killed her mother, not their father. Emiko manages to escape from Oliver and later hunts down Dante for revenge, killing him.
You lied to me. You betrayed me.
Run now.
In parallel, Diggle finally resolves his issues with his stepfather, discovering he's a good guy after all. In the flash forwards, Mia and Connor pick a fight with the Deathstroke gang, led by none other than John Diggle Jr., Connor's adoptive brother. Felicity powers up a tech helmet and discovers that the mega corporation Galaxy One has expanded the Archer project. Oliver is being interrogated for the murder of 2 subway security guards. In flashbacks, we see what really happened. The guards died during a fight to stop a biochemical attack by Emiko and the Ninth Circle. For this mission, Team Arrow even called Roy Harper back into action. We soon discover that Emiko is working with the CEO of Aerodyne, a guy named Mr. Toth. That's why he refused Team Arrow's protection. The guy was in on the scheme from the start. The investigation becomes a game of hot potato. First, Dinah suspects Roy. Then, the blame falls on Renee. To save himself, Renee rats out Oliver, who is taken in for questioning again, and, with no way out, confesses that Emiko killed the guards.
Oliver, then who was it?
It was my sister. Emiko killed those guards.
After everyone is released, we see the full scene and discover that Dinah was misleading the police to protect the team. The real killer is Roy, who had a fit of rage and beat the guards to death. The entire team covered up the crime to protect him. Roy explains that he was killed by the Thanatos Guild and resurrected in a Lazarus pit, which brought back the bloodlust he had during the Mirakuru days. As if that weren't enough, the team locates Emiko. She escapes, but not before confessing to Oliver that she was the one who leaked the tape to the police, and, the final bombshell, she was involved in sabotaging the Gambit, which accidentally caused their father's death. It's the kind of revelation that destroys anyone.
I had the chance to warn our father about the Gambit. I let our father die because he didn't deserve to live.
The police obtain the real footage of the security guards' deaths and go after Felicity with a warrant. She's almost arrested but uses a sonic device to knock out the cops and escape, in true hacker with superpowers fashion. Meanwhile, most of Team Arrow escapes from the rubble of the previous fight, but Oliver is trapped, alone. He starts hallucinating his old friend Tommy, who becomes his personal ghost therapist. The two argue, make up, and have a long heart-to-heart about his life. Back at the bunker, things also get tense. Emiko shows up to confront Felicity, who in a panic reveals that she's pregnant. Emiko leaves, now holding the perfect blackmail against Oliver. Seeing his friend in danger, Roy comes up with a suicide plan to walk through toxic gas to help, but the team stops him. We soon discover the conversation with Tommy was all a delusion. Oliver wakes up and is rescued, but there's no time to breathe. Emiko, dressed as the Green Arrow, is leading a massacre of police officers. Team Arrow arrives for the confrontation, but she escapes again, taking a new weapon with her. In the flash forwards, the chaos continues. The team discovers that Renee plans to use Archer to turn the Glades into a police state. William and Felicity have a nasty fight, and the boy decides to act on his own, getting captured along with Renee, who has a change of heart and switches sides. In the end, Alina officially joins Felicity to destroy Archer. Team Arrow is cornered on a rooftop by the Star City police. Dinah tries to talk the cops down, but it doesn't work. Sergeant Bingsley is unconscious, and they're taking the blame. When things get tight, Oliver fires a distraction arrow, and the team manages to bail. Back at the hideout, they try to guess Emiko's next move with the Cygnus X bioweapon. Felicity gets an alert from a shopping mall, but figures out right away it's a trap to gather everyone outside and maximize the damage. To help with the fight, Laurel and Curtis join the fray. When they arrive, the public doesn't trust them. After all, they're fugitives now. One guy even attacks Oliver, but Ben Turner, yes, Bronze Tiger, shows up, knocks out the aggressor, and tells everyone the truth. The Green Arrow is there to save them. This convinces the crowd to leave, but Emiko launches the drones anyway. Curtis warns that the only way to stop the weapon is to freeze the drones. Oliver hits the target, but some people have already been infected. To make matters worse, the news reports that Team Arrow was responsible for the attack. Emiko not only framed them, but has a stockpile of drones. In the midst of the chaos, Laurel drops a pearl of wisdom. Being framed was good for her because now she knows she no longer wants a life of crime. Felicity and Curtis then devise a plan to use a cryogenic containment device to stop the drones for good. Oliver, Diggle, Roy, and Ben are on the streets destroying drones when Felicity warns that 15 more have been activated. The control signal is coming from Palmer Tech, formerly Queen Consolidated. To Oliver, it makes perfect sense. Emiko wants to destroy his legacy. Inside, Emiko argues with the Ninth Circle, who are concerned about her personal vendetta. The team storms the building. Oliver goes after Emiko alone, while the rest handle the signal. The fight between the siblings begins, but Oliver tries to make her see that hatred hatred has consumed her. Suddenly, the Ninth Circle appears, led by a woman named Beatrice. She says Emiko has strayed from the path and exposed the organization. In a swift move, Beatrice throws a knife into Emiko. Now, the Ninth Circle wants to kill them both. Brother and sister fight side by side. I don't abandon my family, Oliver says, as they start to win.
You're still here.
I don't leave my family.
Beatrice orders the building to be blown up and before fleeing, kicks the knife deeper into Emiko. With her last breath, she apologizes, warns that the Ninth Circle will hunt Oliver and Felicity, and says, I wanted to be a queen.
Wanted to be
In the future, the Monitor appears at Oliver and Felicity's house. He's come to collect on the deal Oliver made to save Barry and Kara. He needs the Green Arrow's help in the coming crisis and warns that Oliver will die. Oliver says goodbye to Felicity and his newborn daughter Mia and leaves. Years later, Felicity says goodbye to her children and meets the Monitor, ready to go to a place of no return where she can finally be with Oliver again. Oliver is on Lian Yu, with Batman and Deathstroke masks nearby, but he's actually landed on Earth 2. Right off the bat, he bumps into this universe's Black Canary and Green Arrow, who is none other than Adrian Chase. Yes, the villain Prometheus is a hero here. Oliver's mission, given by the Monitor, is to recover some dwarf star particles that were stolen by the Dark Archer. The masked villain isn't Malcolm, but his son Tommy. The two best friends from different Earths get into a massive fight. We find out that Earth 2 Tommy is working with corrupt versions of Renee and Dinah. His plan is to destroy the Glades as revenge for the death of his sister Thea, who overdosed on vertigo there. Oliver ends up captured, but not for long, because Earth 1's Diggle shows up using one of Cisco's interdimensional gadgets. With help from Earth 2's Laurel and Adrian, Oliver and Diggle find Tommy's device. After a fight and an emotional speech that only Oliver can deliver, Tommy gives up his plan. In the end, Earth 2's Team Arrow reunites, and Adrian even mentions he was trained by some guy named Bruce Wayne. Oliver then suggests he drop the name The Hood and take up the mantle of Green Arrow. Everything seems to be resolved until a wave of red energy, antimatter, begins to consume everything. The entirety of Earth 2 is simply erased from existence. Oliver, Diggle, and Laurel manage to escape through a breach at the last second. Meanwhile, in the future, the new Team Arrow faces the Deathstrokes, a gang led by Connor's brother, JJ. After the antimatter wave simply deleted Earth 2, Laurel is pissed at Oliver, blaming him for not following the Monitor's orders to the letter. She takes off, leaving Oliver and Diggle behind. But the Monitor already has another mission for our hero: find a Dr. Robert Wong. For this task, Oliver and Diggle meet an old acquaintance in Hong Kong, Tatsu, who agrees to help. Meanwhile, Laurel teams up with Lila to fix Cisco's interdimensional device, and the news isn't good. The device confirms that Earth 2 is gone, turned to cosmic dust. Nothing is left. Oliver, Diggle, and Tatsu continue their search for Dr. Wong, but end up running into the Chinese Triad. They discover the scientist vanished after successfully recreating the Alpha-Omega virus. To draw out the kidnappers, Oliver takes the virus for himself and sets up a meeting with the group's leader, who is none other than China White. He tries to convince her about the coming crisis, but she's not interested in talking and takes the virus. During the exchange, China White realizes she's walked into a trap. Diggle and Tatsu were hiding, waiting to attack. A fight breaks out, and to help, Lila and Laurel appear out of nowhere and help neutralize China White and her goons, recovering the virus. Lila reveals she's been working with the Monitor all along, behind Oliver's and her own husband's backs. The Argus agent is in deep with this cosmic mess. In the future, the situation is also tense. Connor, Zoe, and Mia try to talk to JJ, but they discover his plan with the Deathstroke gang is to take over all of Star City, and to make matters worse, they attack the Team Arrow hideout and kidnap William. Things just got personal. The team enters Ra's Shel Ghul's mysterious chamber and, surprise, it's a trap set by Athena, who is fixated on the idea of reviving the League of Assassins. The ancient scroll they were looking for is just a mat for a treasure hunt, full of MacGuffins to prevent the so-called crisis. Oliver, Thea, and Talia barely escape Athena's attack. In the middle of the escape, Oliver and Talia simply leave Thea behind to grab the second item on the list, but trust is out the window. As soon as they find the item, Talia betrays Oliver, hits him with a sedative, and disappears with the map.
It's like the entrance right there.
Thea, who is no damsel in distress, finds Oliver, but the two are soon surrounded by Athena and her gang, who have already captured Talia. Now Athena forces the Queen's siblings to retrieve the third MacGuffin, an ancient Arabic book with information about the Monitor. They manage to get the book, deal with the henchmen, and read its contents. The book reveals that the Monitor himself will cause the crisis, all in a bizarre attempt to maintain the balance of the universe. Meanwhile, Diggle and Lila are on a parallel mission, hunting a villain named Abdul Nardoc. During the operation, Diggle has a crisis of confidence, still shaken from watching Earth 2 be destroyed. Even so, they rescue Nardoc's hostages and eliminate him. In the future, we learn that William wasn't kidnapped but used a secret trapdoor in the Team Arrow bunker. Smart kid. He finds the Deathstroke's location, and the future team, Mia, Zoe, and Connor, launches an attack. But things go very, very wrong. Zoe is stabbed and killed by JJ. Connor, blind with rage, goes after JJ until a white light engulfs everyone. And that same light drops Mia, Connor, and William right into the present-day bunker in front of a totally shocked Oliver. We have a super awkward family reunion with Oliver trying to connect with his future children, Mia and William. The conversation actually flows, and William comes out to his dad, who responds in the sweetest way possible, saying he and Felicity already knew and were just waiting for him to feel comfortable. But the peace is short-lived. A man with a bomb implanted in his chest explodes in a hospital, and the camera shows someone in a Deathstroke mask watching it all. Argus confirms it's not Slade or his son, so we have a new Deathstroke in town. To help out, Curtis is back. Oliver asks him to find a way to stop the antimatter wave, maybe even by using it to defeat the Monitor. The 2040 crew finds the new Deathstroke's HQ and discovers he is Grant Wilson, Slade's other son. They accidentally trigger a bomb, and the present-day Team Arrow has to save them. This leads to a massive fight, and the future kids spill everything. Star City has become a wasteland. JJ is the new Deathstroke, and he killed Zoe. The blow hits hard, especially for Renee and Diggle. Mia, furious, throws it in Oliver's face that he abandoned her. After a lot of drama and Laurel giving Mia advice on revenge, the teams finally unite. Grant wants to blow up the entire city. While Curtis guides Connor through disarming the bombs, Oliver and the rest of the team go after Grant. At the last second, Oliver stops Mia from killing the villain, showing her she doesn't have to follow that path. With Grant in custody, moments of reconciliation follow. Oliver and Mia make peace at his grandfather's grave, and Diggle accepts Connor into the family. Everything seems to be getting back on track until Curtis calls with a solution for the antimatter wave, a super illegal plan that requires a trip to Russia. To make matters worse, the Monitor appears to Laurel and makes a tempting offer. He'll restore Earth 2 if she betrays Oliver Queen. A family trip to Russia, Oliver takes Mia and William to find a general who is building a pulse wave generator, the missing piece for Curtis's anti-crisis machine. Before they leave, Laurel tells Lila she knows about her deal with the Monitor. Lila tries to convince Laurel to join them and steal the generator's schematics before Oliver can. Laurel reluctantly seems to accept the deal. In Russia, they meet up with good old Anatoly. The general they're looking for is at a fight club and agrees to hand over the schematics on one condition. Oliver must defeat the club's champion. Oliver wins the fight easily, but just as he's about to get the schematics, the Bratva shows up, kills the general, and kidnaps Oliver and Mia. The Bratva then puts Mia through the test of the bell, the same one Oliver faced in the past. She passes with flying colors, proving she's her father's daughter. The boss, Oleg, lets them live in exchange for the weapons schematics. They manage to escape and regroup, but another fight breaks out between Oliver and Mia because he wants his children to stay safe. After things cool down, the team gathers to raid the fight club again. Oliver and Mia fight 6 men at once as a distraction, while Laurel and Anatoly retrieve the schematics and take out the Bratva leader. Meanwhile, Diggle convinces Roy to help him steal plutonium. Roy nearly loses control and kills a guard, showing that his bloodlust is still a problem, but Diggle stops him. Back in Star City, Laurel reveals she was never on Lila's side. She set the whole thing up, bringing Oliver and Diggle to corner their friend's wife. But when they confront Lila, the three of them are hit by tranquilizer darts. The screen cuts to black as Diggle asks,
Sorry.
Lila, what have you done?
Oliver wakes up on his couch at home, and suddenly, Mia, Connor, and William appear, completely shocked to see him there. They have no memory of Lila sedating everyone, and it's obvious something is very wrong. Oliver was supposed to be at a fancy event, but he finds John, who reveals they were drugged 2 days ago. Oliver feels that reality is glitching, especially since Palmer Tech is back, and Quentin Lance is not only alive and well, but he's also the mayor. Quentin even knows that Oliver went to prison and was shot by Diaz, but in this timeline, he survived. Oliver tries to explain that he remembers everything differently, but is interrupted by Renee. Green Arrow and Quentin go to sort out a problem at the police station, and there, the truth comes out. Oliver is stuck in a time loop, just like in the movie Groundhog Day, and the day will only end when he solves this puzzle. The day resets. Oliver, already confused, tries a different approach. He warns Diggle and Quentin about a bomb at the station and discovers he's not alone in this. Laurel is also stuck in the loop. They came up and managed to stop the bomb, but the loop doesn't end. They realize the trigger is Quentin's death, and saving him becomes their new mission. But Lila, the grand architect of this nightmare, appears and shoots Quentin just to prove there's no point in fighting fate.
You're missing the point, Oliver. You can't fight this.
After several attempts, Laurel finally gets a chance to say goodbye to her father, telling him he made her a better person. This moment ends her loop, but Oliver remains trapped. Lila appears and explains that it's all a test from the monitor. Oliver needs to learn that he can't fight his destiny. On the final loop, he finally understands. Instead of trying to save Quentin, he says his goodbyes and thanks him. With the lesson learned, Lila reveals she's been working with the monitor and that all of Oliver's missions were tests to prepare him for the crisis. Suddenly, Oliver and Laurel wake up back in the normal timeline, but with a catch. They're not in Star City. They're on the island of Lian-Yu. The monitor wants them to build a weapon, but Lila drops a bombshell on the team. The weapon won't stop the crisis. It will only serve as a lifeboat for the heroes. With this news, Oliver has no choice but to tell his children the truth. He has accepted that he will die during the anti-monitor's crisis. It's an incredibly heavy moment. Meanwhile, Dinah, Roy, and Renee are flying to the island, but their plane is hit by a missile and crashes. The team split up to search for the wreckage. Diggle, Lila, and Connor find Dinah and a seriously injured Renee, but there's no sign of Roy. They finally find him trapped under the debris, his arm completely crushed. The situation is so dire that the only solution is to amputate his arm right then and there. Elsewhere on the island, Oliver and Laurel come face to face with ghosts from the past. Edward Fires and Yao Fei, villains Oliver had already defeated, are back and ready for a fight. It's like a greatest hits of Lian-Yu's enemies. After a quick escape, everyone regroups at the camp, only to be surrounded by Fire's men. The fight breaks out, and in the midst of the chaos, William and Oliver try to activate the weapon. It isn't Oliver who activates it. The monitor made the device for Lila. She turns on the machine, which disintegrates Fires and his army in the blink of an eye. Shortly after, she steps through a portal and vanishes. The monitor transforms her into his herald, Harbinger. As the dust settles, Oliver has a serious talk with Diggle, asking him to look after his children. Suddenly, the sky turns red, and Harbinger appears with the news no one wanted to hear. The crisis has begun.
The crisis has begun.
The year is 2040. A motorcycle tears through the streets of Star City as a party rages in a club. The person on the bike is Laurel, and she's after a girl named Bianca Bertinelli, telling her that her life is in danger. Bianca, of course, couldn't care less and ends up getting kidnapped by some goons. Meanwhile, Mia wakes up in the Queen Mansion next to her fiancé, JJ. It's her graduation day, and he proposes to her as a gift. She says yes. Elsewhere, Laurel finds Dinah in a bar that, surprise, she now owns. Dinah explains that after Oliver's funeral, she simply woke up in 2040, and her entire life as Dinah and as the Black Canary had been erased from existence. Kinda like 13, going on 30, but without the fun part. Laurel tells her about the kidnapping of Bianca, who is Helena Bertinelli's daughter, and shows Dinah a very bleak future for Star City. The two decide to go after Mia. Laurel and Dinah use a sci-fi looking device to restore Mia's memories from the old timeline. The girl faints, and when she wakes up, her head is spinning as she tries to reconcile the perfect life she has now with the rough and tumble reality she used to know. She agrees to help, but just this once. The plan begins. Mia infiltrates a Bertinelli party and spills a glass of wine to create a distraction, while Dinah and Laurel plant bugs. The first rescue attempt goes wrong. What they're moving isn't Bianca, but a chemical, and to make matters worse, Deathstroke shows up and beats them down. Laurel suspects that JJ is the new Deathstroke, but Mia refuses to believe it. To prove his innocence, she hacks JJ's computer and finds out he was just planning a surprise honeymoon. After a nasty fight, they break up, but they soon discover that Bianca isn't on vacation at all. Laurel gives Mia a motivational speech, and she finally accepts her destiny and suits up as the Green Arrow.
Perfect. Ready?
They find out the kidnapper and new Deathstroke is Bianca's ex-boyfriend, some guy named Trevor. An epic fight ensues. They manage to save Bianca, and the villain blows up the building before escaping, talking about a mysterious her. In the end, Mia and William are looking at their father's statue when she notices that the markings on Trevor's tattoo are the same as a stone Felicity gave him. Suddenly, they are both sedated. William is kidnapped, and someone attacks JJ, restoring his memories from the old timeline. Oliver Queen's voice narrates his journey, recapping everything up to his sacrifice in the rebirth of the universe. He ends by saying that a part of him will always be the Green Arrow. Flashback to 2014, the night Deathstroke killed Moira Queen. Except this time, Oliver breaks free and saves his mother. In the present, Star City has become a crime-free utopia, all thanks to Oliver. Everyone prepares for his funeral. Quentin Lance is alive and is the mayor. Team Arrow gathers in the bunker to toast their friend. Even Aniko is alive, but the peace is short-lived. William is kidnapped in Central City. It's time to get the gang back together for one last mission. Felicity, Rory, Curtis, and Lila show up to help. Felicity, like any good overprotective mother, had placed a tracker on her son. Meanwhile, Roy finally proposes to Thea. Mia finds William, who was kidnapped by John Byrne, a dealer who, in this new reality, Oliver didn't kill but just sent to prison. Mia follows her father's example and doesn't kill him either. Back in the bunker, Felicity finally meets her adult daughter. It's a very emotional moment. Laurel talks to Quentin, who comforts her by saying her existence wasn't a mistake on Oliver's part. After turning out the lights in the bunker for the last time, a statue of the Green Arrow is unveiled. The funeral is an event worthy of Avengers. Endgame, Moira, Tommy, Nyssa, Talia, Barry, Tara, everyone is there. Diggle delivers a moving speech about Oliver's sacrifice. Life goes on. Mia returns to the future, and everyone goes their separate ways, until something falls from the sky near Diggle. He opens a box that was in the crater and is bathed in a bright green light. Yes, it's happening.
Than any of us could have dared, even if it is a little less bright.
The final scene takes us back to the Monitor taking Felicity. He warns her that it's a one-way trip. She says she's waited a long time to see Oliver again. She steps through a portal and appears in Moira's old office where Oliver is waiting for her. The two kiss and embrace, finally together forever in their own private paradise where they have all the time in the world.